Wild game, ladies and gentlemen. Very scary at times where we had TJ Hockenson leaving, then Jordan Addison leaving, then TJ Hockenson leaving. They were able to come back. Sounds like they are going to be good to go. And yeah, Jordan Addison goes out there, has himself a day, ladies and gentlemen. Jordan Addison gives you the 10 targets, the 7 receptions, 124 receiving yards, multiple receiving touchdowns. And I am telling you right now, it could have been bigger. Jordan Addison missed a considerable amount of time. He had to leave the game with cramps. Not only did Jordan Addison miss a considerable amount of time, but at the same time, there was another touchdown that was, I don't want to say inches away, feet away. He was close to scoring another touchdown, ladies and gentlemen. Jordan Addison almost had the hat trick in this game. And I will flex on y'all. Y'all remember what we were saying all week? My favorite underdog pick'em this week was Jordan Addison to score a touchdown with the 2x multiplier. We hit that 2x multiplier on Underdog, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all got to give me some props on that one. Y'all got to give me some props. But moving over and looking beyond this week for Jordan Addison, realistically speaking, what are the expectations? Next week, Jordan Addison most likely will project out to be a high-end wide receiver 2. You have no teams on bye, and if you try to rank wide receivers, it's very difficult to go out there and put someone inside the top 10. There are just so many good wide receivers. So he's probably a high-end wide receiver 2 in the short term. In the long term, you would assume a rookie continues to get better. You would assume that, oh my gosh, we have to talk about Chris Olave, I guess, people in the chat spamming. We'd assume a rookie continues to get better, but at the same time, Justin Jefferson's probably going to go out there, and Justin Jefferson's going to be back in 2-3 weeks. So then you would assume that the target volume falls off a cliff. So I think realistically, rest of season, Jordan Addison, probably a mid to high-end wide receiver 2 in fantasy. I want to go out there and I want to say, oh no, Jordan Addison locked and loaded wide receiver 1 going forward. It's just very difficult to say that when you're playing alongside the best wide receiver in the NFL, right? I mean, maybe Addison over a larger sample, if he continues this, we can kind of view in the same light as maybe Jalen Waddle. In that with Waddle, obviously playing alongside one of the premier wide receivers in the NFL, but still extremely viable in his own right. Now, going over to what we have with TJ Hockenson, not much to discuss. He's a stud. Can't believe that people were letting us get him behind Darren Waller this offseason. We have Hockenson everywhere. Just super excited to see the production. Nothing changes, though. I mean, obviously, TJ Hockenson was the top 3 tight end before this. He's the top 3 tight ends after this. Yeah, nothing changes. Now, something that does change is Alexander Mattison is a running back that I thought the workload was safe with. As soon as Akers was traded over there, I was going, okay, it's going to be a running back by committee. Let's go through. Let's sell Alexander Mattison, blah, blah, blah. And then last week, Cam Akers only played 9 snaps. And I was like, okay, well, I guess Alexander Madison's a guy now. I guess they don't like Cam Akers anymore. But now you have them splitting this backfield. I mean, there are entire drives where Akers is just out there, the guy. Alexander Mattison does not look good. So I think that we can say going forward, no running back is viable here in Minnesota. It's what we thought it was going to be when they made the trade. They psyched us out last week. But yeah, if you're in a running back by committee and you don't necessarily have any efficiency in this kind of offense, I don't think we can be too excited about you. Now let's go over to the 49ers. And I see everybody coming out here saying Chris Olave got arrested. Chris Olave isn't arrested. I have no idea what the hell y'all are talking about, but I will go through and I will look into Chris Olave right after we talk about the 49ers here. But yeah, I have no idea what y'all are talking about. Okay. Now going over to the Niners, CMC is going to do CMC things. Had the oblique strain, we were thinking, oh, okay, well maybe CMC injured coming into this game. It makes it where instead of seeing 100% of the snaps, we get a little Jordan Mason. We get a little Elijah Mitchell. We had 18 touches for CMC and 1 touch for the other running backs in this backfield. Does not matter if CMC is hurt or not. CMC, good to go. I think we can clearly say that. Now, going over to the receivers here. Brandon Ayuk doesn't do much. You had no Deebo Samuel in this game. George Kittle gets you 7 targets. Juwan Jennings leads this team in targets. Very surprising in that. Although we had been saying to sell Brandon Ayuk earlier in the year, just with him being viewed as that locked and loaded wide receiver 1 in fantasy, I'm more so sitting here going, oh, okay, well, let's be realistic. There's so many weapons in this offense. Hard to go out there and hard to pencil in anybody to be a top 10 wide receiver when you have Kittle, when you have Deebo. Wasn't including Juwan Jennings in that equation. Reality, does my opinion change up Brandon Ayuk from this game? No, I think it's still, that mid wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 2 in fantasy rest of the way. Does my opinion change regarding George Kittle? No, I still think that he is that mid tight end 1 rest of the way. He's not ahead of the Andrews or Hockenson tiers we've already mentioned. Does my opinion change with CMC? No, he's still the most valuable asset in fantasy football. Should we run out there and pick up Juwan Jennings? No. Deebo Samuel's going to be back soon, and there are just so many weapons in this offense. So ultimately, I don't necessarily think anything changes here in San Fran. I think that this is just par to the course. Hopefully we get Deebo Samuel back soon, so Brock Purdy looks a little bit better. And then going over to the 49ers, I don't think too much changes. Hockenson still the elite level tight end. Jordan Addison, still someone we're starting every single week when you have no Justin Jefferson. Maybe you're a little more excited about the rest of season upside, even when Jefferson will come back. Really, the only thing that I'm changing in this game is we're willing to admit that Alexander Mattison gave us the head fake last week. We thought he was a bum. Then he had every snap last week, and I was like, okay, I guess he's viable now. Nope. It's a committee. Can't trust anybody. Do not start a Minnesota Viking running back. Both of them are guys that you definitely need a roster, right? Just in case. Hell, if you do have one or the other getting injured, then the other guy is probably a must-start option. Like if you have Alexander Mattison getting injured, then you probably want to start Cam Akers. If you have Cam Akers getting injured, you probably want to start Alexander Mattison. But let me go ahead and let's pull up what's going on with Chris Olave. Give me 1 second to do this. And as I pull up the Chris Olave news, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. We are about 1 like away from hitting 200 likes on this stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. Today is day 178 of live streaming every single day. Have not missed a day since April. Won't miss a day until 2024. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you are going to get a 100% deposit match and our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And now is by far and away the best time to get on Underdog because you have the new customer special that they always have. If you sign up, you're going to get a free special pick'em. This week, it's going to be Josh Allen, more than less than half a total yard. But for NBA tip-off, they also have a site-wide special, more than less than half a total point for LeBron James. And since we had so many people sign up to Underdog with promo code FLOCK, they hooked y'all up with a FLOCK exclusive this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown, more than less than half a total yard as well. So you're going to get 3 special pick'ems this week. So please make sure you take advantage of that while you can. But looking at Chris Olave, breaking Saints star wide receiver Chris Olave was arrested for reckless operation of a motor vehicle tonight due to traveling 35 miles over the speed limit. He reportedly did not resist arrest and was cooperative with law enforcement. So was he drinking? He's in jail, going to be released soon. Was arrested for reckless operation of motor vehicle tonight. He was traveling 35 miles per hour over the post speed limit. Okay. Honestly, doesn't sound like that big of a deal. Obviously, if I were to do that, then I am probably going to see some serious consequences. My life's going to take a major turn, which is why I never speed. I'm the grandma on the highway that you're screaming as you drive past. But will it impact Chris Olave? Probably not. Chris Olave has a lot of money. A lot of people are relying on him. He's worth a lot. I think that ultimately Chris Olave, and of course, I'm not a lawyer. I'm an idiot, but I've just seen the NFL do this kind of over and over again. I think Olave doesn't miss much time from this at all. Maybe he misses a game. Maybe he misses half a game. Please correct me in the live chat. Correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong, but I mean, going 35 miles per hour over the speed limit, do we need to be worried about you in fantasy football for that? And I'm actually going to just see what y'all are saying in the live stream on my phone real quick. Okay. Jason says, the fastest I've gone is 140. The fastest my speedometer on my car even goes is 100 flat. Like, I think maybe I have pushed it up to 80, 85. I don't even know if my car could come close to that fast. Okay. Dan says, oh, it's 60 and a 25. I did not know that. I didn't know if it was like 95 and a 60. Bugnado says it's a felony. Josh says, yeah, he's going to be fine. Steve says, I hope he has Jordan Addison's attorney. Good point. Let me go ahead and let me tweet that out here. Fitting that on the night of Jordan Addison's breakout, you have Chris Olave getting arrested for 35 over. All right, I think we should be able to go ahead and dive into these questions here. Nathan coming out saying, yo, Mason, 3-4, 12-team PPR league. We have Burrow, Montgomery, Moss, Spears, Pierce, Jefferson, Adams, Collins, Godwin, Jason, Andrews. We think we needed some moves. We have a good quarterback coming out of the bye with Joe Burrow. Should be good to go. We have the elite level tight end in Mark Andrews. Don't need a roster of backup quarterback, backup tight end. We have Jefferson coming back in the long term. I think Adams will be better as well going forward. Honestly, this team's definitely struggling right now, given the injuries that we have to Montgomery and Justin Jefferson. However, long term, I don't necessarily think that you're in too bad of a spot. I think long term, you're actually probably pretty happy with where you're at. The only thing I'd say is maybe if you wanted to go through and sell someone like Godwin in a package with maybe Dameon Pierce and go get a viable running back for right now. I wouldn't fault you if you wanted to do that, but you don't have to do anything there. Now, Doa says, full BBR 5-2. We have Lamar, Jacobs, Etienne, Jason, Wandale Laporta, Bijan Ingram, Algier Spears, Sanders Roshan, Javonte, Elijah Mitchell, Chase, Jefferson, Julio. Any moves? I don't necessarily think that we're going to be making any trades here. I just think that we need to be going through and churning this team through the waiver wire. So I'd say at this point, you're probably going to go ahead. You're going to be dropping Keontae Ingram. Keontae Ingram, no role in Arizona. You're going to be dropping Julio Jones. I'm sorry. Loved Julio back in the day. In reality, doesn't have a ceiling here. And I think, honestly, you could drop Elijah Mitchell as well. Now that CMC is fully good to go. And even if you have CMC getting injured, we don't even know if it's going to be Elijah Mitchell or Jordan Mason, right? So I think those guys are easy drops. Go pick up some options off waivers. Jags Got Juice says Wilson or Ridley rest of season, full PPR format. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Garrett Wilson over Calvin Ridley rest of season. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull up flogfantasy.com. I'll let you know exactly where we have these guys ranked. And I guess we need to update our rankings on flogfantasy.com to have Jordan Addison going up here, but let me pull this up. And as we wait for that to load, Roberto says trade Adams for Kamara. We have Olave, Rice, Palmer at wide receiver. Oh my gosh, my friend. Okay, so if you're looking at my rest of season rankings on on flogfantasy.com, I have Alvin Kamara at 25. I have Devontae Adams at 28. So I do think it's going to be up to you between there. And looking back at that other question, looking at Wilson or Ridley rest of season, now that I have flogfantasy.com pulled up, I have Calvin Ridley ranked wide receiver 30 in our rest of season rankings, and I have Garrett Wilson ranked at wide receiver 17. Now let's move this over. Roberto says, trade Adams for Kamara. We have Olave, Rice. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We already answered that. Clutchbox says needed 4 more for CMC. I'm sorry, my man. Can't be upset with what CMC did, right? He got you multiple touchdowns. I mean, hard to ask for much, much more than that. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Batman Gaming says, happy BR, would you trade Pittman for Ridley if we have Lawrence? I would not, my friend, but I am biased. I really did not draft any Calvin Ridley this year. Michael Pittman, I think, was my second most drafted wide receiver on Underdog. And I have like no Calvin Ridley, so I may not be the guy to ask. Okay. Now, Kojin says 10-team BBR 4-3. We have Hurts, Bijan, Pollard, Keenan, Adams, Andrews, Ridley, and then on the bench we have Watson, Tajee, Pitts, London, Jameson, Madison. Lost the last 3. Any lineup changes or suggestions? So whenever we have Andrews, I'm sure you've heard me say this a million times, my man, but if we could go out there, if we could sell, say, Pitts and Ridley and go get an upgrade in the flex spot, I think we would look to do that. Ultimately, over the past 3 weeks, we've had to deal with the Keenan Allen bye week, the Tony Pollard bye week, the Bijan Robinson 0-point performance, Devontae Adams disappointing. I think we just had some unlucky moves. In terms of switching our starting lineup around, I mean, you still probably have to start Calvin Ridley if this is our team. I'd rather not start Ridley, though. So, I mean, if we could go out there and if we could possibly make that trade where we sell Kyle Pitts and Ridley in a 2-for-1 deal to go upgrade that flex spot, I think it would be very advantageous whenever we have Mark Andrews, my friend. But William, always happy to see us, says 4-3, 10-team BBR. We have Allen, JT, Kyron, Jones, Roshan, Hill, Hopkins, Hollywood, Gabe, Judy, Palmer, Tank, Tutu, Laporta, Jonnu. What a package together to upgrade. In terms of trades, I don't necessarily see too many pieces that are expendable for us that have enough value where we could actually get something. Instead, I think that we are just going to be looking to kind of change the construction of this team. We are rostering Hill, Hopkins, Hollywood, Gabe, Judy, Palmer, Tank, Tutu. We're rostering 8 wide receivers, whereas we see 4 running backs here, one of which is on the IR. So I'd say these guys at the bottom end, I mean, at least Tutu Atwell. Like, go through, cut Tutu, go pick up a running back that is an injury away from making a difference, especially when we lose Kyron Williams and we need some production right now. Now, Mushroom coming out saying, full BBR, 12-team league. We have Burrow, Etienne, JT, Chase, St. Brown, Lamb, Pitts. And then on the bench, we have Javonte, Thomas, Jameson, Bigsby, Achane. I'm 2-5. What are we going to look to do? Very sorry to say this, my friend, but if you're 2-5, you can't think about long-term upside anymore. It's more about you got to win. You got to win now. So honestly, on a 2-5 build, I think you're about ready to go through and sell Devon Achane, even if it's at a price that's less than his long-term upside. Sometimes it just sucks, but you have to do it. Kidlo says, seen some doubters in today's uploads, flex on them. I saw this as well. I saw someone like comment like, oh, Mason, you're doing a good job. Don't listen to like the haters. And then I went through and like tried to find what y'all were talking about in the comment section. I read like 100 comments, couldn't find anything. So I will say this is something that I've had to deal with. Obviously, I have to deal with this every single day now. We're getting hundreds of thousands of views a day. We're getting thousands and thousands and thousands of comments a day. I've had to tell myself this and just let y'all know as well. I appreciate the support, but if 2% of them come out here and go, this guy's an idiot, I know way more than him. One, you're more than welcome to start your own YouTube channel. I came from nothing, started it myself, never thought in a million years it would turn into anything. And over years and years of proven results, it has. My man, you're welcome to join. In reality, guys, just 1% to 2% of people trying to be different. You know, people like hating on stuff. That's what it is. But Jake says, pain and only pain. Just lost 196.96 to 140.1. I had Hockenson. They had Addison in the 49ers defense. So, I mean, just about the worst loss you could ever see, pretty much. If you are looking at this, maybe there's a chance there's a stat correction. Maybe. You send up that prayer, my man. Maybe it happens. Now, Bone says 12-team PPR 6-1. Purdy, Eckler, Connor, Jefferson, Diggs, Laporta, Downs. Any moves that we should make? I think we should be a savage on the waiver wire, my man. I mean, we're going to need some help right away. I mean, if you're looking at this, we have the Jefferson injury, the Connor injury. Our depth is like Josh Downs in the starting lineup. I mean, we're 6-1, so we have a lot of flexibility in that. I like what we've done and prioritized that long-term upside going and getting guys like Jefferson. But as that's the case, we really need to be backfilling with options off waivers, right? To go and get something that we're excited about playing right now. Brock says, won fantasy and $1,000 tonight because of Addison. Just tuning in to keep riding this high. That is phenomenal, my friend. Hopefully that was from you taking the Jordan Addison 2X multiplier on Underdog tonight. Super happy for you, my man. And congrats. That's awesome. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we just hit 400 likes on this live stream, but less than 10% of y'all have hit that like button. If you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. We've subscribed to the channel if you play fantasy football. Today's day 178 in a row of live streaming every day. We're not going to miss the day until 2024. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat in the description in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you are going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our updated rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And now is by far and away to get the best time to get on Underdog, because you have the usual new customer special, Josh Allen more than less than half a total yard. But for NBA tip-off, you're also going to get a LeBron James special big of more than less than half a total point. And since we had so many people use promo code FLOCK on Underdog last week, they hooked us up with a code FLOCK exclusive, Amon-Ra St. Brown more than less than half a total yard for tonight. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that if you have not done so already. Now, Skylar says, only good running back is Gibbs with Achane out. My receivers are St. Brown, Flowers, Watson, Addison, Downsborn. Who should I shop for running back? My league is 2 RBs, 3 wide receivers, and 1 flex. Ooh, tough spot to be in, because if you can start up to 4 wide receivers from a week-to-week perspective, it's not as easy as like, oh, let's sell Zay Flowers. Because the thing is, we're starting St. Brown, Flowers, Watson, and Addison. If Watson's injured, we're starting Downs in his place. Wide receiver depth is going to be just as important as running back depth here. So I'm sorry, I don't think you can afford to go out there and sell a wide receiver. I think instead you're going to have to solve that running back issue off the waiver wire. Mark's a good lad, says Vikings fan and just went 6-1. Flock up. Congrats, my man. Really happy for you. LeBron says Addison and for Smith and Jalen Warren, win or loss. This next week, I will have Jordan Addison over Devonta Smith in my rankings. However, when you get Justin Jefferson back in, I think it's much tougher to say. I understand that everybody is completely out on Devonta Smith, but he is consistently getting this target volume in a great offense, and I still think that he's a very good wide receiver. So I think it's a very fair trade, and it's going to be up to you. I think if I asked everybody in the live chat right now, everybody would be riding off this high of looking at Jordan Addison just as a premier wide receiver. So I don't even want to ask everybody in the chat. I already know what they're going to say. I do think it's kind of going to be up to you here, my friend. Now, Cheeky Opson, I'm sorry, my friend. I think we just lost your question. Crap. But saying, God, we lost that for good too. I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to pull that back up. But mentioning the Cousins primetime curse, something I did not even think about. And yeah, Kirk Cousins is a quarterback that obviously we've had to deal with the primetime curse for quite some time. Overcoming it today, definitely a day to celebrate. But let's go ahead and let's pull up the other page so we can keep getting these questions on the screen for everybody. And Lucifer coming out with our next question here. This is a 3 wide receiver double flex league where we need to fix how this looks. Herbert, Jacobs, Hunt, A.J. Brown, Diggs, Keenan, Kincaid, Ayuk, Watson, Rice, Charbonnet, Khalil, Pierce, Mayer. We lost 4 straight, 3-4. What should we do? Oh, my gosh. I think in this format, we want to build around wide receiver where we can start 5 wide receivers on a week-to-week perspective. We've done a great job of that. Hunt will be better going forward considering the fact that we have the Jerome Ford injury. Jacobs is someone that we are worried about, but I don't necessarily know if we actually can make a play with Jacobs, just because I don't know if you're going to be able to get anybody to trade for him. So in reality, my friend, I'm sorry, but I think you're kind of stuck as is. I don't necessarily know if you are going to be able to make a trade here, to be honest with you. Now, Christian says the CMC touchdown is automatic. Big night on Underdog. Yeah, I mean, we were saying that earlier. We were saying, oh, okay, well, CMC does get a rushing touchdown every single week. It is clockwork. And Underdog had him at more than less than half a rushing touchdown. I was like, I feel like it's a trick. I feel like it's a trap. Next time they give it to us, we're just going to go ahead and take it. Now, Ross says 5-2, 12-team, Happy BR, 3 wide receiver league. Trade Bijan, Olave, Pierce, Tua for Jefferson, Diggs, and Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson, no value, but Pierce, pretty much no value. Bijan, 2 Diggs. Give me Diggs probably in a 3 wide receiver league. Olave to Jefferson. Give me Jefferson. We're paying Tua to get it done. I'm fine with it, especially on a 5-2 team where we were looking for the long term, and we have CJ Stroud to backfill at QB. Hunter says Evans, Hockenson for Cup. 2 wide receiver, single flex league. I'd probably go ahead and take Cup, to be honest. Vader says top 3 waiver wire pickups this week. It is almost impossible for me to do this because, I mean, I have no idea who's available in your league. I'd say if I've seen some people saying JSN, Deonta Foreman are available in theirs. I mean, if that's the case, definitely want to be going at those guys at the very top. After that, I would say Dalton Kincaid. Now, Pedro says traded Swift for Eckler. 12-team Happy BR, 4-3. We have Lawrence, Chase, Olave, Eckler, Etienne, Laporta, JT. And then on the bench, Achane, Goddard, Godwin, Higgins, Wilson. Any tips? Phenomenal trade for Austin Eckler. I literally did not draft Eckler at all this year, but at this price point, he's a phenomenal value. I mean, as soon as you had Mike Williams going down, I was like, oh, okay, this is a buy low guy. He's just going to get a ton of targets. And then honestly, I think it's a great team. I think we just kind of get to sit on our hands from this point and wait until we get Devon Achane back in. Now, Daniel says somehow won with Ridley, Cup, Bijan in the lineup, and now have won 3 in a row. Let's go, Flock Up. How the hell do you win with Ridley, Bijan giving you the goose egg pretty much, and Cup disappointing as well? That is nuts, my friend. Now, Huggy for Life says lost to Moody's field goal because of the lack of Ayuk targets in the second half. Really fantasy football sometimes. That's brutal, my man. I mean, Moody could have scored more. Now, Bobcat coming out saying, Dynasty-wise, how excited should we be for Addison? Also, is Addison the #1 Dynasty rookie receiver? Coming from someone who ranked Jackson Smith-Njigba ahead of Jordan Addison this offseason in Dynasty, I need to throw in the towel. And yes, I need to say that Jordan Addison is the #1 wide receiver in this rookie class at this point. And let me pull up my Dynasty rankings on flogfantasy.com real quick. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Because last I updated these was 2 weeks ago. So we're going to have to update these. We updated our rest of season rankings on flogfantasy.com, but we haven't updated our Dynasty ones. I had Jordan Addison at 37 overall. I had him at wide receiver 14. I think he now has to jump JSN. He has to jump T. Higgins. He has to jump Stephon Diggs. Jump Devonta Smith. Jump Tyreek Hill. Probably jump, be right there alongside Jalen Waddle. I think Jordan Addison is going to be wide receiver 9-ish in Dynasty. At least for me. Okay. Now, Tanner says 7-0 PBR league. We have Allen, Eckler, Etienne, Mostert, Adams, Keenan, Waller, Kirk, JSN, DJ Moore, White, Deontay. Don't need to make any moves, but any ideas? Obviously, 7-0, you don't need to make any trades. And if we are going to do so, we're just thinking about the fantasy football playoffs here. So if we could go out there and like send Devontae Adams for Justin Jefferson for that long-term upside, I think that would make a ton of sense, my friend. Now, Josh says, what kind of receivers are we selling Addison high for? I know people are going to hate it, but If we were going to go through and make a play, we probably look to go ahead and sell Addison for like, you're going to have to sell him for a player that people are very worried about, that I'm getting a ton of questions about overall. I'd say maybe Devontae Adams falls in that range. Everybody in the live chat, spam who you would rather have rest of season. Not in Dynasty, just in 2023. Would you rather have Jordan Addison or Devontae Adams? Asian Artifact says, where does Bijan rank rest of season? I'm considering trading him. Very sick of Tyler Algier and Arthur Smith. It was just the headache. I'm not too worried about it. Let me go ahead and pull up our rankings now that we are on the site already. I have Bijan Robinson ranked at RB3 rest of season and at 9 overall. Which I would say, honestly, you're probably not going to get that value for him if you try to trade. Looks like we have Adams. Looks like the majority of people are going Devontae Adams here. Okay. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe everybody panic in the comment section about Adams. Really isn't full-blown panicking. Dakota, happy to see you, my man. Thank you so much. 44 SMU always out says 10-team PPR. Rest of season, wide receiver 2 in a flex. Waddle, Nico, Flowers, Ridley. Would you replace Ridley with Rasheed or Deontay off waivers? No, I'd definitely rather have Ridley over those guys. Coming from someone who's drafted no Ridley. I think we're going to be going rest of season here, Waddle and Flowers. Now we can swing this back around to the other page. Mo coming out says, got offered Pacheco for DJ Moore for the flex rest of season. If you go through and try to rank running backs versus wide receivers right now, you'll see the massive difference in just in terms of the availability of these guys. So I'm probably going to go with Pacheco. Rest of season right now, I have Pacheco ranked at 43 overall, and I have DJ Moore ranked at 46 overall. Jay Soisey says 1-6 for the flex PPR. Traded Adams, Cup, Pacheco for Eckler, Chase, Goddard. Adams to Chase upgrade. Cup to Eckler, up to you. Pacheco to Goddard, give me Pacheco. I like it. And Burrow, Laporta for Allen. Allen, Eckler. Oh, this is a phenomenal team. Great trades, my friend. Great trades. Two of these coming out saying 12-team full BBR, 5-2 first place. We got Tua, A.J. Brown, Lamb, Olave, Walker, Aaron Jones, Waller, Kirk. And then on the bench, Jason, Sutton, Stevenson, Jeff Wilson, Deonta Foreman, Carr, Frymuth. What's the play? At what point do we just cut Derek Carr? I would say if we're not going to be starting Deonta Foreman even now with him having the best situation you could imagine, at least for him. And you know I love me some Deonta Foreman. Hook 'em horns. But I think that we would go ahead and see if we could potentially sell like Foreman and Christian Kirk and go get a viable wide receiver upgrade in the long term. I think that could be interesting because ultimately at the end of the day, I don't think Deonta Foreman is someone we can rely upon whenever we have Roshan and Khalil Herbert healthy. And I wish I could say it differently, but if we have so much depth that we can just bench him now, let's get some value for him while we can. Now, Car Chisel says, Hurts, Michael Pittman Jr. for Burrow, HN, and T. Higgins. It's a very fair deal where you can go out there and you can make that play if you are 100% confident Devon Achane is a running back one when he does come back. I am not 100% confident because the majority of the production we got was off a very small sample. So I would say I probably keep the best player in Jalen Hurts, but it's a very fair deal if you wanted to make that move. Now, Stingray Slapper coming out says, got Hollywood, Palmer, Judy, Deontay, and never know to start at the flex. Let me know. I would say it's not going to be Judy. We're probably going to be looking at Hollywood Brown once we get Kyler back. But in the short term, if you wanted to go through and instead you wanted to take Joshua Palmer based off the volume we've seen with no Mike Williams, I'd be completely fine with that. Esteban says, how do you project James Conner going forward? I think Conner comes back to the offense whenever he is available, and I think it's probably about the same role that he had previously. Shui says, hey man, 12-team PPR, 3 receivers. We have Adams, Chase, Puka, Walker, Hockenson, Rice at the flex. Hunt, Pierce, Henderson, Roschon. Who do you think we should start week 8, and do you think we should make any trades? The only thing that I would potentially explore is seeing if you wanted to start Hunt with no Ford over Rashee Rice. I do think that it's going to be up to you. And when we have this kind of depth, if you were going to be considering just benching Rashee Rice regardless, benching Kareem Hunt, might as well go out there and sell him now while we have some value for him, right? Like typically these guys that are stepping in to a role given injuries in front of them, I'm completely fine holding on to them and playing him if we need that production. But if you don't need that production, I'm always going to be looking to sell him before that other guy comes back. Now, Joshy says 12-team full PPR where we have Fields, Stroud, Jacobs, Cook, Gibbs, Kyron, Jefferson, Olave, Puka, Godwin, Andrews. We're 3 and 4. What moves are we going to be looking to make? I would personally say I think it would be interesting if we could sell Kyron Williams and Justin Fields and get an elite level quarterback. We had Fields as that sell-high guy 2 weeks ago. We had Kyron as that sell-high guy last week before we went on the IR. The issue, at least in what I have, is if we're going to be looking at Kyron Williams, I don't necessarily think that he is a top-end talent. I think he's been great in fantasy based off his workload. And I'm worried that him going to the IR may just open up the window a bit for potentially someone else to come in and turn this into a running back by committee. D-Brave says 12-team PPR double flex. We have Lawrence, Jacobs, Cook, Kamara, Kyron, Keenan, Chase, Amari, Waller. Kyler on the IR. We're 4 and 3. Any moves? Double flex league, the depth's going to matter a little bit more. Full PPR, I like the running backs in that they are getting involved as receivers. I think Kyler Murray may end up being a play over Lawrence rest of season, depending on what happens. So honestly, my friend, I think you're in a great spot. I think you've built the team almost exactly how we would want. I think we just need these guys healthy and need these guys producing. So honestly, I'm not really looking to do anything here, my friend. Now, Elias coming out saying 0-3 to 4-3. Hell yeah, my man. 12-team PPR where we have Mahomes, Etienne, JT, Brees, Puka, McLaurin, Kelsey. And then on the bench, Godwin, Deontay, JSN, Achane, Henderson. What can we pair to try to get Justin Jefferson? I would first try to send I'd first try to send Puka straight up for Jefferson. If we could send JSN, we would. Just in reality, that deal is going to get rejected super quick. I think that there is that outside chance that we'd be able to go through and we'd be able to trade say Puka for Jefferson. That would be my initial offer. And if that didn't get accepted, I'd be willing to add in a depth piece like Deontay Johnson. Cade says, I'm 3 and 4 where we have Lamar, Addison, Robinson, Walker, Debo, Kyron, Royce, Henderson, Roschon. No one to pick up, any moves to make. Well, looks good now that we have Addison that we can start. Hopefully getting Debo Samuel back this next week as well. We have viable running back depth coming in with Henderson and Royce. I don't love rostering 3 Rams running backs, but it kind of seems like that's the position that we are stuck in. So I don't necessarily know if we are going to be able to get away from said position, my friend. God, I hate to keep on saying, oh, no, the team honestly is not in a position to make a move. But what move can we make? If you wanted to go through and if you wanted to try to spin like, hey, I'll give you every Los Angeles Ram and go out there and make like a 3-for-1 deal and go get a running back that we can actually be excited about starting from week to week perspective, I think that would make a lot of sense. Like typically that's always something I like doing. Whenever you have, say, 2 running backs in said backfield and you like monopolize the backfield, if you offer everybody in said backfield for 1 running back that we're more confident about from a week to week perspective, it can clear up roster spots and make it a little bit easier for us in terms of submitting our starting lineup. Now, Javon says 6 and 1 full PPR where we have Love, Bijan, Montgomery, Aaron Jones, Lamb, Addison, Hockenson, Dobbs, Downs, Dell. Need a better quarterback. Who should we move? 6 and 1, Montgomery's going to have more value to us than other people. I'd say, honestly, The only player that I think would make sense to sell from this team, because you're not getting anything for Aaron Jones. You're not going to get enough for Lamb. Montgomery, typically on a 6-1 roster, we want to hold these injured guys until they come back, and then we can get some value out of them. I would say if you were going to sell a running back, wide receiver for a QB here, probably going to go through and probably going to look to sell Addison after tonight. If we can get that top 4 QB, that is. Now, Diego coming out says, PBR, single flex. Got Lamar, Kamara, Mostert, AJ Brown, Puka, Andrews, Chase. And then on the bench, Watson, Kyron, Ford, DJ Moore, Flowers, Freeman, Connor. Offer for Kamara, Ford, for Hill and Jacobs. Hill and Jacobs by a mile, my man. Assuming that is Tyreek Hill, we are going to go Tyreek Hill and Josh Jacobs by a freaking mile. Like, the fact that you'd be able to sell Alvin Kamara for that goes to show that Kamara may end up being a sell-high guy. We are typically saying that Kamara is that sell-high guy in a non-PBR league, a half PBR format, and want to keep him in that full PBR league. But if that's the price point, hell, I'll even sell him in a full PBR league. Now, Josu coming out saying 4-3, where we have Lawrence, Bijan, Walker, Amon-Ra, Lamb, Kittle, Addison. Jonnu, Stroud, Deontay, Kirk, Downs, any moves. Also, Waller or Kittle. I'm going to go Kittle over Waller. Really strong team. I really like the balance of it. If you wanted to go out there, if you wanted to send like Deontay Johnson and Lawrence, or Christian Kirk and Lawrence, and see if we can go get a top 4 quarterback, I'd look to do that. Much easier said than done, though. Okay. Seth says 6-1 full BBR. Trade Wilson, James Cook for Jahmyr Gibbs. Any other moves? No, we are not going to do that with Montgomery coming back in the long term. If you're trading Garrett Wilson and James Cook, I'd love to get if we can get Bijan, then of course. Anthony says, should we trade Gibbs for Addison? In a league where you start 3 wide receivers, 1 flex, I would not fault you for doing this. I think it does depend on your team. Sebastian says 3-4 10-team PBR. Do I trade Jacobs, Tyreek, Dobbs for Keenan, Etienne, and Waddle? Jacobs to Etienne upgrade, Tyreek to Keenan downgrade. We're getting Waddle for our troubles. We have Tua, Swift, Kirk, Smith, Laporta, and Jefferson on the IR. If you can swap Jefferson and Tyreek in the deal, then yes, we go ahead and look to do it. But not with this exact trade. Okay. Now, Josh says traded Puka, Javonte, Ridley for Bijan and Devonta Smith. Ridley to Smith, upgrade. Javonte, Puka to Bijan, upgrade. Love it. Who do I upgrade with at quarterback? We have Stafford, CMC, Bijan, Etienne, Jacobs, Charbonnet, Chase, Olave, Smith, Wilson. If we could send like Wilson and Stafford and go get a top 4 QB, I think that makes sense. I mean, I think Jacobs obviously is expendable here when he's our RB4. The issue is just Jacobs has done absolutely nothing. I don't necessarily know if we're going to get any real value from him. Now, Logan says 12-team at BBR double flex, 4-3. Purdy, Barkley, Brees, Ferguson, AJ Brown, Amari, Addison, Godwin. On the bench, we have Fields, Montgomery, Spears, Jameson, Johnson, Frymuth. Any thoughts or any moves? My thoughts are AJ Brown's been carrying this team hardcore. I mean, this is a team that just kind of has to work the waiver wire, stay competitive in the short term. We're set up in a nice way in the long term. Once we do get Fields and Montgomery back in. Can everybody please spam the chat right now? Just yes or no question. Yes or no question. 12-team league, do you cut Jameson Williams? He had 6 targets this week. Obviously, Jared Goff had like 50 passing attempts. So it's tough. Yes or no, spam the chat. Do you cut Jameson? Okay. Yes, 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 no, no, yes, yes. Yes, no, no, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no, yes, 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 no, no. I would say that if I'm looking at Jameson, 10-team league, he can be on the chopping block. 12-team league, we probably look to hold. Jack says, should we trade Swift and Connor for Keenan or Ramondre? Swift to Keenan, slight upgrade. Connor to Ramondre, definitely give me Ramondre. I would probably do this on a 4-3 roster. Assuming it's a full BBR format, of course, like full BBR league, that's where we're going to be wanting Keenan Allen. I know he was not great this past week, but I don't know. He still had 9 targets, right? He still had 9 targets. Kojin says, if we trade Pitts, Ridley, who are we going to go for? Do we go for Smith? I would hope we could get a little bit higher than that, my friend. I would love to see if we can get to the Lamb, get to the Adams range. If Smith is the best we can do, then Smith is the best we can do. Joe Sherman says, Bijan owners 7-0, offer Henderson for Algier. I think if you need long-term upside, probably going to prefer Algier. If you need points right now, probably going to go Henderson. Don't know exactly which way we're going about that. Gregory says 4-3, 12-team BBR, double flex. Kirk, Walker, Swift, Watson, Smith, Kelsey, Downs, Taylor. Purdy, Montgomery, Garrett Wilson, Samuel, Michael Wilson, McCall Hardman. Good team, trade up for a receiver. I think it's a very strong team. I don't necessarily think that we need to be making a trade. I think we're kind of going to be sitting on our hands till David Montgomery makes it back. However, I probably do look to make some changes down there at the bottom end of this team. I think that we're going to go ahead. I think we're going to be cutting McCall Hardman. I mean, we've said this a couple times now, but Hardman did nothing in 2019 with the Chiefs, 2020, 2021, 2022. And now his team in 2023 saw him and went, nope, yeah, we're good. We don't need him. I don't know. I don't have any faith in Hardman having upside at this point. Now, WTF Huck, longtime member of the flock, says 12-team BBR 6-1. Allen, Walker, Pacheco, Olave, Gabe Davis, Watson, Kelsey, Downs, Warren, Mason, Hardman. Cut Hardman, my friend. Jameson or Javonte, I don't know. I'm having a tough time finding a trade for the long term. Any suggestions? Rate the team. I think it's a strong team. Obviously, we have the elite quarterback. We have the elite tight end. I mean, I don't think it's as strong as like a typical 6-1 team, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, we really don't have that top end wide receiver production. I mean, RB is fine. I'm trying to find a deal that would make sense. See if we can go get Jefferson on this team. But honestly, I don't think that there is one. If we could sell like Downs and Olave and go get Jefferson and just play waiver wire wide receivers in the meantime while we wait, I think that'd be a move that we look to make here on a 6-1 roster, my friend. But in reality, that probably gets rejected. Of course, it's not going to hurt to send out that offer. And yeah, just going back to what we were talking about previously, cut McCall Hardman, go find someone else off the waiver wire. I promise you'll have a better option on waivers with more upside. But outside of that, I think it's a strong team, my man. I mean, when you are 6-1, you just have so much flexibility with how we can build for the long term. Norris has traded Swift for Cup. My wide receiver one is Chase. I think it's a good move. Rich says the non-flocker Jacob moved to 0-7. Roast this bum as he burns up his buy-in. Jacob, my man, we told you after week 3. We told you after week 4. We told you after week 5. We told you after week 6. We told you after week 7 to join the flock. And maybe, just maybe, you would have a shot to win at least one fantasy football matchup this week. I don't know what it's going to take for you to listen. I hope, I pray that there is a brutal punishment for last place in your league. Hopefully, it's a tattoo. Hopefully, you get tattooed the flock logo on you and you learn your lesson. And going forward, you join the flock and hopefully we can turn you into a good fantasy football player, my man. Now, Durant says Superflex League at BBR. Lamar, Diggs, Lamb, Pittman, Barkley, Brees, Mark Andrews down to the flex. Minshew, Bryce Young as my second quarterbacks. Any tips for any moves? Great team. Obviously, I'd like a QB2 if we could go out there and if we could get that upgrade. The question is, like, what does that trade look like? Since this is a 3 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I don't think we're going to be looking to sell like Pittman and Minshew to go get a QB upgrade. Instead, we just hope that you have Bryce Young. like just getting better as the season goes on. I'm trying to think if there's anything. We have the elite tight end. We have them stacked up with Lamar. We have top end wide receivers. We have top end running backs. I think it's a great team going forward. I mean, if we ever get the opportunity to upgrade QB2, probably do it, but it's a little bit tougher with this being a 3 wide receiver league. Double R says, Mason, keep up the great work. I just had it coming in flex that I won, still starting Bijan and leaving Foreman on the bench. Well, my man, congrats. Happy for you. And hopefully Bijan does not give us the absolute goose egg. Hopefully. Now, Clutchbox coming out saying 3-4, 12-team BBR Superflex. We have Herbert, Carr, Pickett, CMC, HN, Cook, Gibbs, Gibson, Keenan, Ridley, Sutton, Davis, Dobbs, and Njoku, Thomas, Frymuth. Any moves that we should be looking to make? I'm panicking. Kincaid currently on waivers. First thing is we shouldn't be rostering 3 tight ends. I think that if we have Frymuth on on the IR, we're chilling. If we can't put him on IR, you cut him. We're going to cut Logan Thomas, pick up Kincaid. That's a relatively easy move. Obviously, we have to start 3 quarterbacks with this being a super flex league, roster 3 QBs. We have CMC holding down the fort at running back. We have Gibbs coming on now. I think that Antonio Gibson also is a running back that we can look to let go of, because now this is turning into a 3-man running back by committee in Washington, and obviously this is just a horrendous offense. So I don't necessarily know if we can be excited about Gibson here either. So yeah, I think we probably go ahead and make some waiver wire moves. In terms of trades, I don't necessarily like to see anything. Juan says lost $4K because of Ayuk over 5 receptions. Okay. This sucks no matter what. I hope and I pray when you say this, though, you mean you lost what you could have won 4K, but you didn't. That's what I'm hoping. I hope you didn't bet $4,000 on Ayuk to go over 5 receptions. Hopefully it was like some parlay where you're like, oh my gosh, I almost had a big win. That would be a much better situation. Samuel says, how do I downsize to get a legit starting receiver? We have Najee, Warren, Spears, JSN, Downs, Palmer, Shaheed. I want to package, my man, I don't know what to tell you. You're starting Najee Harris, Jalen Warren right now. If you're starting Najee, Jalen Warren, we have much bigger issues than going out there and trading for a wide receiver 1. I would say that we're kind of going about this backwards. And even if we were to try to package 2 of these guys together, go out there and try to send Najee Harris and Josh Downs and see what you get. I'm telling you right now, you're going to have a very hard time selling those guys. Now, Danny coming out says 10-team happy BR 5-2. We have Lawrence, Stroud, Diggs, Pittman, Thielen, Wilson, Chark, Pacheco, Jones, Montgomery, Edwards, Waller. Any moves or thoughts on trades? Cut DJ Chark, my friend, especially in a 10-team league. And beyond that, we have so much wide receiver firepower. If you wanted to go out there and if you wanted to send Garrett Wilson and Lawrence and go get an elite level quarterback, I think that would make a lot of sense. But yeah, the primary thing is let's cut Chark. Let's go pick up a running back off the waiver wire. That's an injury away from making a difference, especially as we are dealing with the Montgomery injury and we have no idea what we can expect from Aaron Jones at the moment. Compton Ace, longtime member of the flock, says, what's up, Mason? You're the greatest to ever do it. I doubt that, but 7-0, 14-team, happy BR double flex. We got Mahomes, Swift, Pacheco, Evans, Rice, Gibbs, Deontay, Musgrave. And then on the bench, Kyron, Dobbs, Dell, and Hopkins. Great team. Obviously, 14-team double flex format. Depth's going to be a little bit harder to come by. We're going to be less likely to make 2-for-1 deals, especially whenever we are dealing with an injury to, say, Kyron Williams. I think we're more so going to be sitting on our hands and waiting for him to come back. Yeah, I do think that we need to go out there and pick up a tight end off waivers too. But the issue is, we don't necessarily know who's going to be there, right? You have no shot of getting Dalton Kincaid off waivers in a 14-team league. And if you do, my man, we know what to do. Now, Longhorn Nation, Hook 'em Horns, my man. Pitts, Puka for Laporta, Brian Robinson in a PPR league. Give me Puka over Laporta, Pitts, Brian Robinson, up to you. I'm going to go with Puka and Kyle Pitts. Brian Robinson looks like he is losing his hold on this job. Eric says 3-0, now 3-4. We dropped 180 and still lost. It's a 10-team PPR format with Goff, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Etienne, Ramondre, Hockenson, Evans, Addison. And then on the bench, we have Fields, JSN, Downs, Rice, Spears, Roshan, Gainwell, and James Conner. So the thing with this team, right, is I really like going out there and rostering these rookies at the bottom end that give us that long-term upside. But with this team, we are rostering Jordan Addison, Rashee Rice, Tajay Spears, Roshan Johnson. Like, our bench is almost entirely composed of these rookies. So naturally, you're going to expect that it's a little bit tough in the short term, and the team's going to get better in the long term. So I don't necessarily want to overreact to us losing some of these weeks early on. I think it's going to get better as the season goes on. Especially as we have that Addison breakout now. Now, Magnolia coming out saying 12-team PPR 5-2. We have Lawrence, Achane, Bijan, Aaron Jones, Jefferson, Amari, Rice, London, and Andrews. Any moves? Could trade Jones for Ayuk. The thing is, we already have wide receiver production. Who do we have at running back too? Like, I have no idea what the hell Aaron Jones is going to do this year. I thought Aaron Jones was going to be good to go coming out of the bye. But at this point, it does look less likely. I don't know how this injury is still impacting him this severely. If you wanted to make that swing, I think you could. What I would rather do, though, when we have this kind of wide receiver depth, is I would rather, if we can, trade Aaron Jones and Rashee Rice for a much better wide receiver than just Brandon Ayuk, you know, if possible. Okay. Now, Caden does it coming out saying 12-team full PPR. I'm 5-2 with Hurts, CMC, Kamara, Evans, Addison, Ingram, Deontay. And the bench is Mixon, Thomas, Samuel, Downs, Foreman. What do you recommend? Any trades? Full PPR format. Here we're going to be looking to hold on to Kamara. We have the Addison breakout at wide receiver 2. Down there on the bench, we have Mixon as a viable running back as well. I would say with Foreman, because we have this kind of running back depth with this team, if we're not going to be starting him anytime soon, I mean, we wouldn't start him here. I think it'd make a lot of sense if you could go out there and possibly look to just go through, send Foreman in a package with like Mike Evans and go get a long-term upgrade at wide receiver, because Foreman's not going to be moving the needle for this team regardless with how strong we are at running back. Okay, but now we're going to have to refresh this and pull it up on the other screen to keep on bringing up these questions. So give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. And as I do this, if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen, which I know less than 10% of y'all have hit that like button, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. We have live streamed every single day since April. Not going to miss a day until 2024. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, now is the best time to get on Underdog, because they have the usual new customer special. You sign up, you get a special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. But on top of that, since there's NBA tip-off, you also have a LeBron James special pick'em, more than less than half a total point. And since we had so many people use promo code FLOCK on Underdog last week, we are actually getting an exclusive Flock special pick'em on top of this, and Amon-Ra St. Brown special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. So get a 100% deposit match, our rest of season fantasy football rankings, and on top of that, 3 special pick'ems, ladies and gentlemen. Literally never happens. But let's swing this around. Our next question out from Udai says, 3-4, 10-team, Happy BR League. We have Tua. Ooh, I'm sorry. We're showing the wrong one. We have Mahomes, Walker, JT, Jacobs, Jamar, Evans, Kittle. Potentially have an offer of Kenneth Walker and Evans for Puka and Justin Jefferson. Give me Puka over Evans, Jefferson versus Walker's, up to you and up to your current situation. If we do have at least viable running backs that we can start for the time being in Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs, then yes, I'm going to go out there and get Jefferson and Puka. Now, Kevin coming out saying 10-team Happy BR 2-5. We have Tua, Bijan, Cook, Diggs, Wilson, DJ Moore, Kittle, and then on the bench, Debo, Dak, Sanders, Dobbs. Need running back help. Ready for a big trade at this point. Yeah, 2-5, we're looking to sell long-term upside and get points in this starting lineup immediately. I mean, if we could sell maybe say, I don't know. We have Bijan, James Cook. They're going to be fine at running back. I think I would instead be focusing on trying to get that upgrade in the flex. Like if you could send DJ Moore and Sanders and go get a stud running back, or DJ Moore and Dak. I mean, obviously we can get anything for Dak, we would. I think we're going to prioritize going out there and getting the upgrade for the flex spot. Dylan says 10 TBBR 4-3. We have Allen, JT, James Cook, Aaron Jones, Cup, Puka, Thomas, Kelsey, and then on the bench, Moss, Spears, Lockett, Hopkins, Dylan. What are your thoughts? Any moves? Really don't like our running backs. You're going to be fine. Jonathan Taylor's expanding his role. The thing is with James Cook, ladies and gentlemen, James Cook is an every week starter now. Now that you have the Damien Harris injury, please do not be stressing. You are going to start him anyway. So yeah, if you have James Cook, don't be like, oh, I need to go out there and trade for a running back. No, honestly, you're kind of fine. And with that being said, like, if we want, you're not getting anything for Lockett at this point. You're not going to get anything for Hopkins at this point. So very similar to the team prior. You have James Cook at RB2. I want to say James Cook's probably going to be fine at RB2. And we have Michael Thomas in the flex. I would more so prioritize going out there and seeing if we can find a way to upgrade that flex spot, my friend. Arthur says 4-3, 10-team league, single flex. We have Hurts, JT, Bijan, Swift, Spears, Tyreek, Olave, Smith, Deontay, Dell, Downs, Waller. Good offer, Jacobs for Devonta Smith. Do we take that in any other moves? I think we do it. And then at that point, we're probably going to be backfilling with wide receivers with upside off of waivers. I mean, we already have some of these rookies down there at the bottom end, like Josh Downs, looking like he is breaking out. So we do have a little bit more flexibility here, which you like to see. So I think we're probably going to be chilling with where we're at right now. But still, fine spot, fine spot. Now, Yoda Build says, Kincaid and Hunt worth the #1 waiver wire claim? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I honestly may go Kincaid over Hunt. And I have way more Hunt in drafts this year. Sean says, Puka and Thielen for ETN. We have Allen and Chase. If it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I'm fine with it. CTE Sports says, like this trade and ask the chat. I mean, do you mean like the stream and ask it? I don't know. 12-team, PBR, single flex, 2 receivers. Burrow, Pollard, Gibbs, Kupp, Keenan, Ayuk, Schultz, Ford, Spears, JSN. Gibson, Ford for Barkley. What are your thoughts? I don't even think I need to ask the live chat. I think it's Saquon Barkley easily. I will ask the live chat for you, my friend, but I think you go Barkley. You don't overthink it. Can everybody in the chat spam, what would you rather have? Would you rather have Gibbs and Jerome Ford or Saquon Barkley? Gibbs and Ford or Barkley? Now, Masij coming out saying 4-3, Happy BR 12-team league. We have Hurts, Stevenson, Pollard, Chase, Addison, Lockett, Myers, Hockenson. Then on the bench, we have Foreman, Jaleel, Jeff Wilson, Mitchell, Dobbs, JSN, Quentin Johnson. 2 questions, 1, any moves, and then 2, who are we going to start? First thing is, I think you cut Quentin Johnston for one of those waiver wire options we talked about this week. I think Jaleel is cuttable. Elijah Mitchell is cuttable. I think we just churn the waiver wire at the bottom end of this team, cut those 3 guys. And then in terms of how we are constructing this starting lineup, Hurts at quarterback, Hockenson at tight ends, running back, Pollard, Foreman if you have no Roshan, Stevenson if Roshan plays, wide receiver, Chase, Addison in the starting lineup for sure, the flex, Myers for sure. And then in that flex spot, I think we're going to go with the other running back that we just mentioned between Foreman or Stevenson. Now, Griffin Face says, who would you trade Jefferson for? And do you think he'll be back by week 10? Not sure, but I mean, honestly, this win probably makes it a little more likely. And do you think trading Ridley and Kupp for another elite level receiver is worth it? If you could go Ridley and Kupp for like Tyreek Hill for Jamar Chase, then I for sure would. And I think Jefferson's going to be in the Amon-Ra St. Brown range. If you are a seller, if you are a buyer, I'd be looking to go off of the CeeDee Lamb range. Now, Kyler coming out saying, we have CMC, Bijan, Taylor, Hall, Ridley, DK, Puka, Higgins, Jefferson. Any moves, 5-2. Nope, phenomenal team. We have multiple round 1 picks. We're 5-2. We're thinking long term. We're just waiting until we get Jefferson back out the IR. Great team. Zane says, sell Addison high. Depends. If you could sell him for like Adams, sell him for Lamb, then of course it's an absolute no-brainer to go out there and make that move. But in reality, much easier said than done. Like Jordan Addison and Joe Mixon for Bijan. If it is a 10-team league, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, I wouldn't fault you for it. But I mean, Addison's a very good player, right? And this is an offense that we talked about coming into the season, potentially leading the NFL in passing attempts. Anthony says, should we trade away Gibbs for Addison? We have Moss, Foreman, Pollard, Sanders, Jeff Wilson. Receivers, Jefferson, Lennon, Myers, Pittman, Davis, JSN. It's a 3 wide receiver single flex league. Can everybody spam the chat? Who would you rather have rest of season? Gibbs or Addison? I'm probably taking Addison here. I'm checking my phone right now to see what y'all are saying in the chat, but I'm probably taking Addison over Gibbs, especially if it's a 3 wide receiver single flex league. But let me know in the live chat if you think I'm wrong. Okay, it looks like everybody is agreeing with us with Addison here. Now, Medis says, Mason, I traded Etienne, Hollywood for Lamb and Olave. Etienne to Lamb, give me Etienne. Hollywood to Olave, give me Olave. I know you might be mad at me for doing the trade, but it's done. Now do I trade CD for Amon-Ra? If you can now flip Lamb for Amon-Ra, it's an absolute no-brainer. I think the first trade's kind of whatever, but if you can flip Lamb for Amon-Ra, then it makes it all worth it. LOLG coming out saying, had Eckler and Bijan with Lamb and Higgins on bye. 7-0 though. Hell yes. Thanks to trading Kyron Williams for Jahmyr Gibbs. Congrats, my friend. Super happy for you. And thank you so much for being a member of the flock for so damn long now. Now, Zane coming out saying, what do you think about my starting roster? PBR, we have Hurts, A.J. Brown, St. Brown, JT, Barkley, Taysom. I think that Taysom is a tight end that we cannot rely on. I understand that he scored the touchdown this past week, but still, I want to be as far away from Taysom Hill as I possibly can be. Now, Sabra says, just lost by 2 points with 151, the second highest of the week. Brutal. We're going to be 1-6 with the second highest points for. Any hopes to make the playoffs? Well, if you have the points for, then obviously you have any tiebreaker to get in. I will say I won my first fantasy football championship starting off 1-4. It is going to be an uphill battle. You are definitely unlikely to make the playoffs. Let me put it that way. It's possible, but you kind of have to view it as if you're in the playoffs already. You kind of have to go through and you kind of have to just assume it's win or go home. Chris says was offered Bijan Addison for Eckler Pittman. Eckler, Bijan, up to you. I'd probably rather have Addison over Pittman. I think it's a fair trade. It's going to be up to you. Joseph says 10-team league, PPR, single flex. Mahomes, JT, Jones, Hill, Kupp, Hockenson, DK. On the bench, we have Connor, Lockett, Godwin, Javonte, Pierce, Sanders, Ingram. Any trades? Having trouble moving off DK. May need a running back 1. The thing is, you're not going to be able to sell DK straight up for an RB1 if you were going to make a move, especially if we have this wide receiver depth. I do think it makes a lot of sense. I think you could go ahead and send DK and Ingram to get the best running back possible, or Evan Ingram and like Chris Godwin, or Evan Ingram and James Conner to get the best running back possible. I think the pivotal piece that you're going to be selling here will be Evan Ingram. However, I mean, Ingram looks like a top 5 tight end, right? I mean, he is my tight end 5 rest of season. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a player that you don't really need whenever we have Hockenson. You can get a considerable amount of value selling him to someone else who actually needs him. Now, McDinkin's coming out saying, aloha, Mason. 10-team, full BBR, double flex, 1 quarterback. We have Burrow, Bijan, Ramondre, Diggs, Kirk, Waller, Flowers, Pickens. And then on the bench, Rice, Ridley, Ford, Tajee, Charbonnet. Any moves? Thanks. So thank you, my friend. I mean, Burrow will be much better going forward. Looking at the depth here, it's a double flex league, so the depth does matter a little more. I would say, though, if you're 2 and 5, it's just a complete difference maker, and you need to be thinking about winning now rather than later. So if we could sell like Jerome Ford and any player in the starting lineup to go get that upgrade and just cash in on whatever future value that he has for points right now, I would do it. Madi says, sorry, forgot to add, we already have Bijan, Eckler, JT, Montgomery, and only have Waddle's wide receiver 1. Tua is our quarterback. Okay, so let's pull this back up, my friend. Okay, yeah, so we're going for the 2 receivers. We have great running backs. Well, it does make it a little bit more viable. Going back to what we were discussing previously, I do think it comes down if you can pull off that Amon-Ra St. Brown deal. Mr. Filthy Wubs, always happy to see us. A 6-1, 12-team PBR. Howell, Etienne, Jacobs, Lamb, Waddle, Ingram, Gibbs, Higgins. There's no way this team's 6-1. Actually, we had Fields. Never mind. Fields, Hunt, Foreman, Samuel. Any trades or any waiver wire moves. Really, we're just going to be churning the bench, right? I mean, ultimately, this is a team that doesn't really have a lot of depth. Like, down there on the bench, we don't really have anybody with a ton of value. I'd say Justin Fields is that guy, but we need to be holding on to Justin Fields for ourselves for when he comes back in a few weeks. So, yeah, I'll just be churning the bottom end of this team off waivers. I think you're in a great spot. Now, Jovi coming out, always happy to see us. Says 4-3 PBR, won 2 in a row. We have Lamar, Jacobs, Brees, Tyreek, Ayuk, Addison, Hockenson. And then on the bench, Kyron, Chuba, Tajee, Aaron Jones, Watson, TJSN, and Amari. Getting tired of Jacobs. What kind of upgrade is obtainable, or should we hold? Since you have this much wide receiver depth here, if you wanted to potentially sell, say, Jacobs and Addison in a package and go out there and see if we can get like Bijan or Eckler, we can go for it. Or if you wanted to send him with Christian Watson and get a lesser running back in return, or send him with Amari and get a lesser running back in return, you could go ahead and look to do that. I just think that we are probably wanting to go ahead and probably get that upgrade if we can. It's just going to be a very tough spot when I'm telling you from what I've seen in these live streams, nobody wants to trade for Jacobs right now. Now, Scholes says 1-6, 10 TPBR. We have Lawrence, Bijan, Swift, White, Lamb, Smith, Higgins, Laporta, Goddard. Feel like I can make some moves in absolute shambles. It is a very boring thing to say, but I just think that we need to be cashing in on any value that we are not using on the starting lineup right this second if we are 1-6. So if that means we sell Dallas Goedert and Lawrence to get a top 5 QB, let's do it. If that means we sell Goddard and White to go get a great player for the flex, let's do it. Let's sell the second tight end that is extremely viable for someone else, just not for us since we have Laporta. And let's go get something that's going to make a difference right now. Now, Will says 5-2, 10 TBBR. We have Mahomes, Ramondre, Moss, Diggs, Sutton, Hockenson, Kirk, Deontay, Schultz, Achane. Other team has Walker, Pollard, Kamara. No good tight ends. Hockenson for which running back? I would sell Hockenson for Walker in a heartbeat. I would sell him for any running back here. Kamara is my least favorite of the 3. And I'd be willing to add in Moss to get to Pollard or Walker. I would love to make that move. Common Sense Happy to See Us says 10 team at BBR. We have Mahomes, Wilson, Evans, Thomas, Deontay, Dell, Eckler, Mixon, Kyron, Warren, Hunt, Anderson, Kelsey. So we have the Mahomes Kelsey stack. Off Burrow, Andrews, Thielen. For Mahomes, Kelsey, Mixon. Phenomenal move. He has CDL instead of Thielen at Evans receiver. Thoughts / cancel. I have no idea what the hell you're saying. If you were asking if I would rather have Mahomes, Kelsey, Mixon, or Burrow, Andrews, Thielen, it is Mahomes, Kelsey, Mixon easily. I don't know what he has. CDL, control CDL, instead of Thielen means. I'm sorry, my friend. Justin says, Sutton Downs, Rice, DeMarcado on waivers. Rushing yards doubled. We're going to go with the running back. We have Olave, Puka, Pittman. Yes, 100%. You have to go with the running back. Yeah. Rushing yards are doubled. These guys are going to be players that we want to start in that flex spot every single week. And we are dealing with the HN and Kyren Williams injury. So, yeah, you have to strongly prioritize running back there. Mostly says, wide receiver question. We have Keenan, Amari, Lockett, JSN, Addison, Rasheed, Boyd. Who should we move and who should I target? You will not get any value for Lockett. You will not get any value for Amari. Keenan is a hold. These are the players you can get value for. Boyd is cuttable. Cut Boyd. If you were looking to sell someone, if you can get a low-end wide receiver 1 price tag to sell Addison, I'm fine doing so. If you can get a wide receiver 2 price tag for Rashee Rice, I'm fine doing so. And you obviously would have a considerable amount of wide receiver depth there. Now, Isaac says trade Jacobs and Walker for Eckler. Wishful thinking or fair? I think it's a fair deal. We have Etienne, Gibbs, Kyren, and then still have Puka, Thielen, Terry, Nico, Myers. Guy needs depth. It'll be the last trade of a 3. Oh, that's brutal. Absolutely hate that rule. I hate any rule in fantasy football that limits the amount of moves that you can make. With that being said, I probably do go ahead and get Austin Eckler here. Eckler was someone I didn't really draft at all, but honestly, with no Mike Williams, he's just going to get so much target volume. We're 5-2. So, yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and we just get Eckler here. Mitch says 10-team PBR, 5-2 double flex. We have Fields, Burrow, Pollard, Hall, Swift, Amon-Ra, Palmer, McLaurin, Pickens, Downs, Jefferson. Trade Swift, Pickens for Higgins, Spears, Thielen, or Higgins, Spears. Okay, so Pickens to Thielen, give me Thielen. Swift to Higgins and Spears, easily give me Swift. It's a league where we are loaded at running back. I'm fine if you wanted to sell Swift. You would just need a better price point to do so. Misa says Gibbs or Hall rest of season. We're definitely going to go Breece Hall, my friend. And then trade either of them for Mixon. I think you could trade Gibbs for Mixon. I think the Bengals offense will be much better going forward. Peter says sell Eckler for ETN. I have a ton of ETN on all my teams. I have very little Eckler. I would love to come out here and try to pretend that ETN was going to be better than Eckler rest of season. I would rather have Austin Eckler if I'm going to be honest with you. Also, you can use the tiebreaker. Eckler's through his bye. You're going to get the extra week as well. Now, Brandon says 3-4. Do I trade Garrett Wilson for Michael Thomas and Amari? Very much dependent on what you need. Like, if you need depth, then maybe. Like, if it is a super deep league. Mr. Vildy Wub says 2-5, 10-team PBR. 2 Ford, Saquon Diggs, Watson, Pittman, Goddard, Flowers, Walker. Hunt, Foreman, Spears, 2 open spots, Achane on the IR. Any waivers or trades? So I'd say 2-5. What we're probably going to have to go ahead and do is we're probably going to have to sell Ford and sell Achane. Just go out there and get some running backs that maybe have less long-term upside, but more short-term production. I mean, obviously, it's nice having like Walker that we can slide in as well. For that reason, if you wanted to sell like Ford and Goddard in a package, just get a slight tight end upgrade, or Ford and Pittman in a package, or Achane and Watson in a package, and go get upgrades at those individual positions. On a 2-5 team, I'm selling any injured guys that we have for points in the lineup right now. Now, Tom says 12-team PBR 5-2. League leader, nervous though. Any moves? We have Keenan, Amon-Ra, Michael Thomas, Reynolds. So no wide receiver depth. Etienne, White, Gainwell, Cousins, Ferguson. To be completely honest, you're kind of exactly where I'd want in a league where we are 5-2. We are going out there and we are prioritizing studs in this lineup and kind of disregarding depth. We really don't have much depth here whatsoever, my friend, which is completely fine. I just think that we honestly aren't going to be focusing in on trades. And instead, it's going to be a team where we're going to be churning the bottom end of this bench with waiver wire moves. Cole says 12-team PBR 3-4 after starting 0-4. We have Burrow, Gibbs, Bijan, Chase, A.J. Brown, Waddle, Hockenson, London, Javonte, Achane, Osborne. What moves do we make to keep stacking these wins and win the ship? My man, congrats. So damn happy for you. especially to win this week with the Bijan 0, with Chase on the bye week. That is honestly really impressive. If you would have lost this week, I would have said it's time to sell Achane. But to be honest with you, we're starting Gibbs, Bijan, Chase, A.J. Brown, Hockenson, then Waddle. We have Burrow coming out of the bye. Burrow should be healthier as well. I think this is a phenomenal team. If you could sell like London and Achane and go get a stud wide receiver, stud running back, we would go ahead and do it. Or same thing, London and Javonte, just because we have a considerable amount of depth with this roster. And we have a lot of these guys already through their respective bye weeks as well. Specifically, the most important piece of that Burrow and Chase stack. So I think that would be interesting. Now, Styling coming out saying 12-team PPR single flex 3 and 4. We have Hurts, Eckler, Walker, Waddle, Sutton, Andrews, Montgomery, Rasheed, Boyd, Hunt. Any moves that we can look to make. So we have the elite level running backs. We have no wide receiver 2 of note. The only thing that I'd possibly say is if you could send Montgomery and Rasheed Rice and go get an elite receiver, or Montgomery and Cortland Sutton and go get an elite receiver, I think that would make sense on a team where we already have Eckler and Walker through their buys. Now, Wombly says Fields and Moore for Ridley and Tua. Give me Tua over Fields. Give me Moore over Ridley. I think it's a fair deal, up to you. Kidlow says 12-team Happy BR 6 and 1. We have Allen, Smith, Downs, Brian Robinson, Madison, Kittle, Evans, Javonte, Spears, Kyron, Achane, Jefferson, Charbonnet, JSN, make moves or set. Very boring, my friend, but I mean, this is the exact spot where you kind of have to sit, right? You have no Jefferson, you have no Achane, you have no Kyron Williams. So the depth here with this team is lacking severely right now. You're 6 and 1, however. So, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, if anybody's going to be able to overcome not having these guys in their starting lineup in the short term, and instead of just focusing in on long-term upside, it would be you. So I think you're in a really good spot to just honestly kind of chill on your hands here, my friend. Mo says 8-team league, 3 and 4. We have Burrow, CMC, Pollard, Olave, Smith, Waller, Moore, Lockett, Henderson, Singletary, Roschon. Offer DJ Moore for Pacheco. We're going to go Pacheco easily. Or do we go to the waiver wire to grab someone like Foreman, Palmer, Dell, Samuel, or JSN? So I think we would drop Singletary, or we would drop Singletary for Deonta Foreman. Actually, no. We're just going to drop for JSN. I was hoping we had a wide receiver to drop for JSN, but we don't. But yeah, if there are wide receivers like JSN down there on your waiver wire in an 8-team league, my man, wide receiver depth doesn't matter at all. You definitely want the player like Pacheco there. But I believe we can actually swing this bag around to the other page. Hell yes, ladies and gentlemen. So let me do just that. And as I get that set up, you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the description, in the comment section, in the live chat. Promo code FLOCK, you are going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our updated rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, a Josh Allen special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. That's the new customer special there every single week if you're new to Underdog and use code FLOCK. But what makes this week special and the perfect week to sign up to Underdog is for NBA tip-off. They also have a LeBron James special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. And on top of that, since we had so many people use code FLOCK last week on Underdog, they're also hooking y'all up with an exclusive Amon-Ra St. Brown special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard, only for code FLOCK users. So yeah, never happens. That was by far and away the best time to get on Underdog. But Mr. Filthy Wub says 6 and 1, 10-team PPR. We have Allen, Hunt, Foreman, London, JSN, Samuel, Hockenson, Dobbs, Amon-Ra. And then on the bench, we have Stroud, Pollard, Pierce, Jefferson, Achane. 2 open spots, trying to sell Stroud, any moves. I hate to say it, phenomenal team. This is the exact setup we want on a 6 and 1 roster. We are just going to be sitting here waiting until we get Jefferson and Achane back in. And the thing is, like on a 6 and 1 team, if anybody's ever going to find value with these guys, it's going to be you, right? Where we are just thinking about that long-term upside for the playoffs. Now, Mike says, Sup Mason, thinking about trading for Jefferson while possibly starting Palmer until Jefferson's back. We're 4 and 3. We have Tyreek, Adams, JT, Javonte, Kelsey, Pittman, Palmer, Montgomery, JSN, Spears. Should we do it? Hell yeah, I'd go out there and trade for Jefferson if we can at a reasonable price. I'd sell Adams for him. I would sell Pittman and Javonte for him. But yeah, Palmer is not a bad start at all. And yeah, Palmer threw his bye already as well. Mr. Filthy out again says 3-3, 12-team BBR. We have Hurts, Mixon, Pacheco, Higgins, Thielen, Lamb, Kittle, Wilson. And then on the bench, we have Foreman, Osborne, Atwell, 2 open spots. Any moves? Cut Atwell as well. We'll have 3 open spots, my man. We can make moves from there. What was the target volume that we ended up getting from? I guess you can hold on to Osborne if you really wanted. I like that we have Higgins coming back in. No, I'm not going to tell you to do that. I was going to say one thing that maybe would be interesting is selling like Hurts for Burrow and a massive upgrade elsewhere if we're already committing to the Bengals offense with Higgins and Mixon, but Hurts is so damn good. We don't need to. I mean, if you have Deonta Foreman down on your bench, you're not starting Foreman when you have no Roshan and when you have no Khalil Herbert. Might as well go out there and see if we can package them together like Garrett Wilson to go get a stud wide receiver with a flex, right? If it's just a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Music says, do I drop Miles Sanders at this point? If you were going to drop him, you should have dropped him last week going into the bye. Now I want it. Comp today says, what's one of your league's last place punishments? I do not have any last place punishments in my league. I think next year we're going to have a big league for the creators on flockfantasy.com. We'll probably come up with something interesting for that. But can everybody please let me know in the live chat, what is the punishments? I'm reading the live chat. We got Anthony with the Blazing Wing Challenge. I like that one. I feel like that's a fun challenge. You have to eat something extremely spicy. I feel like most people are going to get enjoyment out of that watching the loser have to do it. It's reasonable. It's not like getting a tattoo. Lemonade stand's pretty funny. Okay. Dog cage. Beer mile, 2 miles, drink a different alcohol each lap. Appa says stand-up comedy sketch. Now that is good. That is good. Will coming out saying 12-team BBR double flex, 4-3. We have Lamar, CMC, Saquon, Montgomery, Adams, DK Kittle, Rasheed Dobbs, KJ Osborne. Any thoughts? I think we're probably, just a little bit lackluster with the depth here. Obviously, at running back at the very top end, that we're good. It's just going to be a little bit of a struggle as we wait for David Montgomery to come back in. But once that happens, I think we'll be in a really good spot. It's just more so backfilling that wide receiver depth from the waiver wire in that double flex league where I really don't want to be starting Osborne going forward if we can avoid it. Liam says 10-team BBR 5-2. We have Hurts, Cup, Ridley, T, JT, Bijan, Waller, Kincaid, Gibbs, JSN, Charbonnet. What should we do? You're the man. Thank you, my friend. 5-2 roster. Obviously, great spot to be in, and it's incredibly impressive to be 5-2 on a team that had no Cup at the beginning of the year, that had no JT at the beginning of the year. We have Kincaid now stepping up with the injury to Dawson Knox. We have Jackson Smith and Jigba as well, kind of breaking out. So I think this is a team that's young, that's going to continue to get better. The only thing I'd say is maybe if you could sell like Ridley and Waller and get an elite level wide receiver, that would make sense. Sixtel says, Pacheco for Lamb, full BBR, and I'm 3-4. I would go Lamb. Wyatt says, full BBR 12-team league, looking at 4-3. We have Lawrence, Jacobs, Spears, Gibbs, Ridley, Puka, Higgins, Sutton, JSN, Powell, Kittle, Kincaid. Cut Powell. And honestly, I may be looking to sell high on George Kittle after tonight with no Debo. Good game, and more importantly, I just think that Dalton Kincaid probably is going to be someone that we can end up starting almost every single week going forward. I did not draft a lot of Dalton Kincaid this year, but if Dawson Knox really having wrist surgery at this point, I think Kincaid in this offense does slide into that pretty much full-time slot role and someone you can be really excited about. Now, Spooky Ghost says, got A.J. Brown, Waddle, Jefferson in the back for the future. And the flex, I'm not too favored in my next matchup. Are we going to go Flowers or Downs for better potential output? I drafted so much Josh Downs in my underdog drafts this year that I'm really hoping that Downs goes out there now, produces Flowers. With that being said, I want to be realistic. I do think that it will be Zay Flowers. Obviously, down to the better game this week with 125 receiving yards and the receiving touchdown. Primarily driven off that one big play. I think Flowers has more pedigree as well. Flock Soldier says, hook 'em, go Longhorns. Hook 'em horns, my man. What's your opinion on Kittle compared to a wide receiver? What range of Kittle compared to receivers? So let me go ahead and just pull up my rankings on flockfantasy.com. This will just take me 1 second to do. And as I do this, if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen, please go down there, hit that like button. I can tell only 8% of y'all have dropped a like on this live stream. What do I got to do, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, your boy has live streamed every single day since April. Not going to miss the day until 2024. Go down there and drop that like. I need to move Kittle higher than this in our rankings. I think Kittle belongs in like the Zay Flowers, Deebo Samuel, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans range. Right now on flockfantasy.com, we have him ranked lower than that, but that is an oversight. I mean, under that, but that's an oversight by me. I need to move him up. Xander says Addison and Schultz or Hockenson. I'm going to go Hockenson, to be honest. Genuine says, do this trade. Send Bijan and Smith for JT and Lamb. Give me Bijan over JT. Give me Lamb over Smith. I think it's up to you. Montel says 5-2 second place, 4-3 third, 5 and second in second. In my 3 leagues, watching all your streams again so far this year. Big thanks to my man. Start 1 running back, 2 flex each week. Between Hunt, Mixon, Downs, Lockett, Collins. Really appreciate you, my man, and congrats on all the success. Running back, we are going to be going with Mixon. For the 2 flex spots, we'll be going Collins and Hunt whenever we have no Jerome Ford. But whenever Jerome Ford does play, we probably pivot over to Downs, to be honest with you. But congrats. Super happy for you, my man. Thank you so much for everything. Matt says, 10 deep will be our triple receiver double flex. We have Hurts, Lamb, Deontay, Ridley, Kittle, Brees, Foreman, CMC, Saquon. Make a move for Keenan Allen. I would love Keenan Allen in this format. I mean, if you could go out there and sell like Lamb for Keenan, I think that make a lot of sense. The issue is, in this league where you can start 5 wide receivers on a week-to-week perspective, someone like Calvin Ridley actually does have a considerable amount of value, and he actually could make somewhat of a difference for us. So typically, I'm actually going to be looking to hold on to that kind of wide receiver. So it'll be a little bit of a tougher spot to go out there and make that kind of move. Now, O'Hogan says 12-team PPR starters are Lawrence, Barkley, Etienne, Pittman, Pickens, Kelsey, Jones, Foreman, Debo. And then on the bench, we have Kyler, Reynolds, Foreman, Judy. 4 and 3, any improvements? Really like Kyler for the long term. I'd say Reynolds is cuttable at this point. Go cut Reynolds. Go pick up another player off waivers. Start Foreman this week if you have no Roshan. We have Kelsey, so we're not rostering that backup tight ends. Honestly, I really like this team, especially as we get Kyler Murray back in a few weeks, where hopefully Kyler is an improvement on what we've had with Lawrence so far. Now, GDF says 6-1, 12-team PBR, 4-player keeper. We have Herbert, Purdy, Taylor, Gibbs, Kyron, Singletary, Fournette, Dalvin, Diggs, Lamb, Puka, Hollywood, Samuel, Hockenson. Any tips? Thanks, Thank you, my man. So 4-player keeper, obviously we need to be thinking a little more long-term youth-centric. I would say cut Fournette, cut Dalvin Cook. Even if Fournette signs, he probably doesn't make a difference in fantasy. And I drafted him in a lot of underdog drafts. I hope he signs. I hope he does make a difference. I hope I'm wrong, but it's probably not going to happen. I'd cut him. Even if Brees goes down, Dalvin's not going to move the needle. So honestly, I don't necessarily think we make any trades. I definitely want to be churning this bench, particularly at running back though. That way we have someone that we could potentially be starting in the short term with the Kyron Williams injury. LOLG says, made this trade around 2 weeks ago when these players were buy lows. 7-0, as I said. Traded Puka, Hall, Cousins, Metcalf for Mahomes, Goddard, and Higgins. Metcalf to Higgins, give me Higgins. I know a lot of people are going to disagree. Cousins to Goddard, who cares? We essentially sold Puka and Hall for Patrick Mahomes. Don't love the value, but if you are just absolutely loaded on a 7-0 roster, I'm fine with it, right? We're fine going out there and overpaying for the stud. Harrison says 7-0, 12-team PPR. We have Herbert, Mostert, Swift, St. Brown, Waddle, Goddard, Downs, Gibbs, Hall, Jefferson on the bench. Should we try to make a trade for Eckler? I would love to if we can. I would love to trade Mostert. It's going to be tough after the Eagles game, but the reason being 7-0, we're thinking long-term. Long-term, obviously, Achane comes back into this offense. But if we could sell like Mostert in a package with maybe Breece Hall and go get Austin Eckler, or even maybe a little bit less, like sell him with Gibbs and go get Eckler. I think that'd make a lot of sense. Mr. Filthy Wubs again says 4-3, 10-team league. Stroud, Eckler, Foreman, Dobbs, Smith, Logan Thomas, A.J. Brown, Watson. And then on the bench, we have Fields, Howell, Mixon, Hubbard, Addison. Drop Howell because the week 7 buys. Okay, so we had Sam Howell just to start this week. Perfect. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense in why we'd have 3 quarterbacks. Still don't love it, but obviously got to do it. Outside of that, I think we would probably be fine looking to move off of Logan Thomas. Looks like a 10-team league, so I think we could possibly go get Dalton Kincaid off waivers. Be an absolute no-brainer if we could drop Logan Thomas for Dalton Kincaid. We're going to be starting Mixon here over Christian Watson. And starting Jordan Addison over Romeo Doubs. Boss says trade Addison for Olave. I think it will be up to your personal preference. If Jefferson was out the rest of the season, I would rather have Addison. Andrew says 12-team PPR, 5-2, most points in the league. We have Hurts, White, Pacheco, Hill, A.J. Brown, Andrews, Rice, Debo, Pierce, Jonnu, Zeke, Kelly. Have an offer of Hill, Andrews for Etienne, Cup, and Evan Ingram. What would you do? Thanks. So thank you, my friend. Hill to Cup. Give me Hill. Andrews to Etienne. Give me Etienne. We're getting Ingram as well. Running back, we're currently starting White, Pacheco. So we have guys that we can start. It's very boring, and obviously we are just watering this down. I think it's an interesting trade, but I'm just going to go ahead. I am just going to keep the best player. I'm just going to keep Tyreek Hill. Typically when I think something's fair, when I think something's close, I'm just going to give the tie break. Give me the side that has the best player in it. I do think that Tyreek Hill is the best player here. Okay. Alex says 12-team PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. We have Hurts, Bijan, Swift, A.J. Brown, Puka, Goddard, Amari. On the bench, we have London, Elijah, Taji, Jaleel, Chuba, Algier, Ferguson. 1-3 to 4-3. Any moves? Congrats, my friend. Single flex league, depth's not going to matter here. I mean, if we go down to the bench to try to sell some of this depth, nobody's going to buy any of this crap. So in reality, I think that in terms of making trades, really we're just going to be stuck with what we have now. I think that we can make some pretty drastic waiver wire changes, though. I think you can cut Elijah Mitchell. As if you are looking at Elijah Mitchell, if you have no Jordan Mason. I'm sorry, if you have no CMC, it still may end up being Jordan Mason. We don't even know if Mitchell's going to be that guy. And I drafted a lot of Elijah Mitchell this year, which is one of the big mistakes that I made this season. And then I would also drop Jaleel because Jaleel looks like at this point he's the RB3 in Denver, which obviously is horrendous offense. Andrew says 12-team full BBR, single flex. We have CJ, Stafford, Najee, Pierce, Rashad, Diggs, Chase, Puka, Judy, Ferguson, Quentin, Mims, Spears, Keaton, Achane. Any moves or any running backs to sell? Maybe Goddard waiting for the Henry trade. Yes, obviously Spears would get that significant bump if Henry were to be traded. The thing is, if we look down there on the bottom end of the bench, like realistically speaking, what kind of value are we going to be getting for these guys? I would say the only trade that would make a lot of sense is if you're in a spot where we're maybe 2-5 5. Maybe we are 1-6. Maybe even 3-4. Achane would be on the block and we'd be looking to sell him. And then I think we're also probably going to be looking to cut Keaton Mitchell. I think we're also going to be looking to cut Quentin Johnston. I never had any faith in Keaton Mitchell. Someone just not playing at all. I mean, if you're not playing over Justice Hill and Gus Edwards, it ain't happening. And even if he does play, he could still be the starting running back eventually for Baltimore and not be viable in fantasy. And then with Quentin Johnston, I actually had hope for Quentin Johnston. I thought Johnson was going to be great whenever you had the Mike Williams injury. But obviously, we were just flat out wrong. Not the case. Now, Jay Mills says 4-3, 12-team PPR. We have Hurts, Allen, Lamb, Olave, Bijan, Henderson. Ferguson. And then on the bench, we have Deontay, Jonnu, Addison, Singletary, Dak, Montgomery, Kyron. Any moves? Should we sell Addison high? Looking at this team, I don't necessarily think we would want to have like a blanket statement, everybody sell Addison high. I think Addison's a great player. And I think Addison will continue to be great. However, let me see if we can move this over here. Maybe this will actually be better. Let me try this. Perfect. However, based off that trade that we saw earlier where we saw someone sell Addison in a small piece and then be able to go out there and get like TJ Hockenson, get an elite level tight ends. If you're able to make a move like that, I would really like it, my friend. Like that would be something I'm looking at doing. But we are going to have to bring this back to the other page so we can keep bringing these questions up. And if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. We have live streamed every single day since April, not going to miss a day until 2024. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our updated rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, now is the best time to get on Underdog because they have their usual new customer special pick'em, more than less than half a yard for Josh Allen. But for NBA tip-off, they also have a site-wide special. LeBron James more than less than half a total points. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, you have an Amon-Ra St. Brown special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard, only for code FLOCK users because so many of y'all signed up to Underdog last week with code FLOCK. So yeah, please make sure you take advantage of that. Literally never happens, and this is your week to do so. But our next question coming out from, I believe, Mr. Filthy Wubs, always out here saying, 4-3, 12-team PPR league. We have Hurts, Jacobs, Taylor, Thomas, Samuel, Kelsey, Ford, London, Foreman, Sutton, Higgins, Downs, Addison, Jefferson on the IR. So we have Addison to start in there over Michael Thomas. We now have Downs to start in there over Curtis Samuel. We now have Foreman to start in there over I'm sorry. I know this is disgusting. Like, I feel like my gum's falling out. But now we have Foreman to start in over Jerome Ford. And we have Higgins as well. So honestly, I mean, this team looks really tough on the surface, but I think now this depth is going to be coming back this week and really helps us out. We have Jefferson here for the long term. We have the elite level quarterback. We have the elite level tight end, focused and wide receiver, running back, upside down on the bench. Perfect team. O-Dog says 14 team 5-2. We have 2 receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Goff, Jefferson, Tyreek, Myers, Downs, Cooks, Brees, James Cook, Hill, Ezekiel Elliott, Gainwell, Pitts, Higbee. Are we doing anything here? 5-2, we're thinking long-term with Jefferson. We have Tyreek to play alongside him. Brees is a top 14 running back. James Cook's a top 28 running back. We have an RB1, RB2. We have Kyle Pitts, a viable tight ends. I think it's a great team, to be honest with you. I think it's well-balanced, 5-2 team where we're looking at Jefferson for that long-term upside. Perfect spot. Now, Keona says, got Ridley Spears for Najee Palmer in a 14-team non-PPR league. Really banging on the potential Henry trade. Was this too much? To be honest with you, my friend, I do think it was probably too much in a non-PPR format. If Henry is traded, it's nice, but you are taking on a risk. The Michael says, just wanted to thank you for the formative advice this week. Save me a win despite no Pollard, Kyron, DK, and getting Ridley. Congrats, my friend. I am happy for you. And yeah, I mean, Hockenson, it was a very biased call telling everybody to sell Foreman, to start Foreman, but happy it worked out. Andrew says 12-team PPR double flex. 4-2. Week 3. We have Hurts, Chase, DK, Flowers, Swift, Kabara, James Cook, Goddard. And then on the bench, we have Dak, Freeman, Akers, Williams. Any moves? Don't know what Williams that is. It looks like this is going to be a league where depth's a little bit more prioritized. Yeah, it's a double flex league. We are focusing on running back upside down here at the bottom of the bench. The only thing I would say is if we could possibly package together like Dak and DK Metcalf, go get a wide receiver upgrade. We do it when we have Jalen Hurts, but much easier said than done. I don't know if anybody's trading for Dak right now. Jamie says I'm 2-5. We have Lamar, Barkley, Swift, Gibbs, Anderson, Cooper, Wilson, Pittman, Flowers, Thielen, JSN, Laporta. Should we look to trade for a number 1 receiver? Yes, because we can afford it when we have this kind of depth. If it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I would love to like package together Adam Thielen and Michael Pittman and go just get an absolute stud. Jeremy says 4-3 traded Henry and Goddard for Hurts and Hockenson. Oh my gosh, give me Hurts over Henry. Give me Hockenson over Goddard. Love it. My running backs are Jacob Swift. Yeah, I think it was a great move. I'm assuming what you have is that other team banking on a Derrick Henry trade, but yeah, you have no idea if he'll land somewhere good. Burner account says, how good of a running back or wide receiver can I get for Jalen Hurts? I have Jalen Hurts, I believe, ranked about 13 overall in our rest of season rankings right now. So I think you're going to be looking for an equivalent of an elite first, early second round draft pick. Julian says, hey, Mason, 12-team at BBR 5-2. We have Pat, Pacheco, Etienne, Chase, Nico, Andrews, Brees. And then on the bench, we have Spears, Lockett, Rice, Keaton, Wandale. This is a ride or die team, right? Yes, I would just say let's cut Keaton Mitchell. Let's go find someone else off the waiver wire that has a little more upside. He's just not playing. He's just not playing. And even if he does, he's going to be in a running back by committee. And I don't think he's good enough to be effective in an RB. At least we haven't seen it, right? And he has no pedigree. There's like no reason to believe it until we see anything. Charles says 10-team full BBR single flex. Tua, Jacobs, Henry, Tyreek, Puka, Andrews, Kirk, Judy, Jameson, Kyler, Darrell Henderson, JSN, Sanders, Jaleel. Any moves? We're going to cut Jaleel, RB3 in one of the worst offenses in the NFL. I would love to take Kyler if we can and send him with Christian Kirk to go get a significant upgrade in that flex spot from a team that maybe needs a little bit of help out quarterback whenever we have Tua who we can start every week. Now, Too Rich and Bree TV says 18 PPR where we have Lawrence, CMC, Waddle, AJ Brown, Cup, Waller, Hall. On the bench, we have Ingram, Addison, Higgins, Fields. Good offered Ayuk and Warren for Stevenson and Palmer. Give me Warren over Palmer in an 8-team league when the only thing we care about is upside and Warren doesn't have high ceiling if Najee gets hurt. Ayuk, Stevenson will be up to you. Probably give me Ayuk. If I was going to look to make a trade, what I would prefer to do is take Darren Waller and one of these depth wide receivers and go get a top 3 tight ends, especially in an 8-team league where wide receiver depth will be easy to come by. Now, Mark says 5-2, 10-team PBR single flex. We have Allen, CMC, Walker, Amon-Ra, Addison, Andrews, Pacheco, Mason, Foreman, Hollywood. No, I'm sorry, Marquise Goodwin, I believe. Dobbs, is that Marquise Goodwin? Amari, do we make a trade for Jefferson or Bijan? If you trade like Addison and Amari for Jefferson, that'd be a no-brainer. I would still rather have Bijan over Walker if you wanted to sell Walker for him straight up. Abba says Cup, Ramadre for Olave, Eckler. Give me Eckler over Cup. It's close. Olave, Ramadre. Probably give me Olave. It's close. I'm going to go Eckler, Olave. Eckler's already gone through his bye. Owagen says trade for Higgins, Foreman, and or Reynolds. I would 100% trade Foreman and Reynolds for T. Higgins. Junior Sal says 12-team full BBR single flex. We have Hurts, Bijan, Javonte, Amon-Ra, McLaurin, Brian Robinson, Pitts, Michael Thomas, Tutu, Addison, Osborne, Evans, Deontay, Achane. We're 3-4. What moves are we making? I would love to upgrade RB2 if we can from Javonte Williams. I honestly think there are a couple things we need to do. First, cut Zach Evans. Then cut Tutu Atwell. Pick up some guys off the waiver wire that have a little more upside. Then honestly, at that point, if you wanted to take Devon Achane and Javonte Williams and go sell them for a running back that we're going to be very excited about right now and get some production in today, I wouldn't mind you doing that. Now, Leonard coming out saying 10-team full BBR format. We're 3-4, starting Lamar, Barkley, Hall, Amon-Ra, Adams, Laporta. And then on the bench, we have Cook, Zay, Downs, Olave, Kyler. Any suggestions? Phenomenal team. And shout out my brother, Joe. Great show. Thank you so much. Shout out to Joe. I think it's a phenomenal squad, to be honest with you. I mean, we have so much depth down here on the bench that if you could take like Zay Flowers and Sam Laporta and go get that stud tight ends, I would. Trying to think. I just have no idea how this team is 3-4. I think we're probably just want to sit on our hands here, my friend. Outside of making a 2-for-1 deal, if we can get like an elite tight ends. Now, Mike says 4-3, 12-team PBR. We have Goff, Ford, Etienne, Pollard, Amari Smith, Chase, Olave, London. What should we target in trades and waivers? We have Amari Smith, Chase, Olave, London. We have 5 startable wide receivers. If it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I would love to go out there and send one of these depth wide receivers like either Amari or London with Jared Goff to go get a quarterback upgrade, preferably someone with some rushing upside. And then waiver wire, I would love to go get Kincaid if we can this week. Mr. Billy Webb says 6-1, 12-team PBR. Layman Jacobs for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Win or loss, we already have Etienne and Gibbs. I would probably rather have Lamb and Jacobs. It is close. I think I'd rather have Lamb and Jacobs, though. Chase says, traded Kelsey, Warren, London for Hockenson, Addison, Gibbs 2 weeks ago. I'm 7-0, but this was questioned throughout the league for the deal. London to Gibbs upgrade, or let's go London to Addison upgrade, Warren to Gibbs upgrade, Kelsey to Hockenson downgrade. To be honest with you, my man, if you would have sent this to me 2 weeks ago, I would have said, oh, you lost. Give me Kelsey. But now, obviously, you're sitting here with a little bit of a different situation. Max says, sell high on Lamar. We have Kyler on the IR. I'm not. Like, Lamar Jackson was my most invested into player this year in underdog drafts. I don't love Lamar like the real life quarterback, but he's elite in fantasy. He's good in real life, elite in fantasy given his rushing upside. Now, Super Better says 12-team 6-1. We have Dak, CMC, Etienne, Allen, Waddle, Andrews, JT, Kirk, Godwin, Hunt, Njoku Deshaun Wandale. Should I chill or make a move and upgrade quarterback? So we have 3 startable players down there on the bench. We have Kirk, Godwin, and Hunt. So if you could send like Christian Kirk and Dak Prescott for a QB upgrade, let's do it. Just because we have the depth where we can afford it, where we only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. We have a super strong team here. I think another thing that would be interesting is possibly making a play for like Jefferson on that 6-1 roster. Now, H&T says 5-2 PBR. Ridley, Waddle for Connor and Kittle. Give me Waddle over Kittle, Ridley, Connor, up to you. I have Kupp, Amon-Ra, Deontay Flowers, Saquon Pacheco, Brian Robinson. Kittle would replace Pitts. I'd probably rather keep Waddle in the elite level offense, if I'm going to be honest. Now, let me swing this back around. Our next question coming out from Octavio says 10-team single flex 3 and 4. Geno, Hill, Amon-Ra, Ramondre, James Cook, Thomas, Flowers, London, Wilson, Madison, Najee, Nico. What to offer for Eckler? I would love to go out there and see if we could send like Ramondre and I don't know if the deal makes sense. I don't know if we want to sell Hill or Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think we'd be able to pull it off with like Ramondre and Garrett Wilson. What I would offer is I'd offer like packages of like Ramondre, Garrett Wilson, Ramondre, Zay Flowers, James Cook, Zay Flowers, James Cook, Garrett Wilson. And then do the same thing with Nico instead of the receivers. In reality, probably much easier said than done. The name I can never pronounce coming out saying Sub Mason team is Lamar, Keenan, Diggs, JSN, Gibbs, White, Kincaid, Judy. Need another flex. What are your thoughts and any traits? I think obviously this team's very strong at the top end, but I mean, if you have the lack of depth, I don't necessarily think now's the time to be going out there making 1-for-2 deals. So, I mean, I would say that more so this is one of those teams that's a good example of you're set up nicely with that long-term value and really do like the roster for right now. We're more so going to be wanting to focus in on what we could do when it comes to picking up pieces off waivers for the fill-in currently, though. Now, Gavin says 12-team BBR, 5-2. We have Burrow, Pollard, Gibbs, Tyreek, Puka, Goddard, Michael Thomas. The bench is Goff, Stroud, Jameson, Johnson, Connor on the IR. Any trades? If we get any value for any of these quarterbacks, let's do it. Let's send Goff and Thomas. Let's send Stroud and Thomas and go get an upgrade in there for that flex spot. Because ultimately, my man, we can't be rostering 3 QBs. I do think you need to go out there and you need to get some kind of value for these guys while we can. Lou says 10-team 2 quarterback PBR 5-2. We have Mahomes, Cousins, Hall, Jacobs, AJ, Amon-Ra, Laporta, Pittman. And then on the bench, Amari, Pickens, Charbonnet, Spears, Dobbs, Stevenson, Pitts. Any moves or do we sit still? I mean, if you could possibly go through and sell, say, like Pitts and Cousins and go get to a top 3 to 4 quarterback, which is 100% possible, especially with how damn good Kirk Cousins was tonight, I think we would probably look to go ahead and do that in a 2 quarterback league. Jack says 2 and 5, 10-team BBR. We have Lamar, Bijan, Cook, A.J. Brown, Flowers, Ayuk, Higgins, Waller, Algier, Elijah, Latavius, Kincaid. What's the next move? With the Dawson Knox news, I mean, I think that you actually have an opening for Dalton Kincaid to go out there and turn into someone that's actually going to be startable sooner rather than later. So I wouldn't mind at all if we wanted to go ahead and if we wanted to see if we could potentially move off of Darren Waller and send Darren Waller in a package with like Zay Flowers and just go get an elite level wide receiver. Obviously, Waller looked great this week, but at the same time, was a spot where you're going up against the Commanders, which is one of the easiest matchups you could ever ask for. Money Mentor says 12-team 6-1. We have Cousins, Eckler, Walker, A.J. Brown, Addison, Metcalf, Ingram. And then on the bench, Hollywood, Edwards, Amari, Jaleel, Zay, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Herbert. Any moves? 6-1, we're thinking a little more long-term here. We have Eckler, Walker, beautiful spot to be in. We have the elite receivers at the top end. The only thing I'd say is if you could sell like Gus Edwards and DK Metcalf and go get a stud for the flex, they probably can't make a swing for Jefferson, but if we could try something like that, makes sense. Zach says, full BBR 8-team league. I was 5-1, 5-2 now. Hurts, CMC, Bijan, Amon-Ra, Olave, Etienne, Andrews, Waddle, Higgins, Cook on the bench. Thinking about trading Olave and Bijan, what are your thoughts? I completely understand being frustrated, but with Olave getting arrested today, I will tell you, you're probably not going to be getting much for Chris Olave. And at the same time, my friend, I don't necessarily know if we want to be in a spot where we're selling Bijan in a week where he gave us a goose egg because he had a headache. I think it's going to be a much better spot going forward. And honestly, I think you just got to ride it out, to be honest. Isaiah says trade JT for Bijan or Eckler. Hell yes, I do either or. Ridley for Debo. Yes, I'd make that trade as well. Sell Ridley for Debo. And then honestly, Bijan, Eckler will be up to you. I think Bijan maybe is a little bit higher with his points per game, but you also get the extra game from Eckler. Rob says, hey Mason, 14-team full BBR. From 0-2 to 5-2, hell yeah. We have Tua, Stroud, Gibbs, Pacheco, Akers, Justice Hill, Waddle, Puka, Moore, Downs, Addison, Jameson, Hardman, Gesicki. Any trade ideas? So 14-team league, depth's going to matter a lot more, obviously. This is a team that doesn't have much depth. I definitely want to strongly encourage you looking to the waiver wire to see if we have a better player than Mecole Hardman. It's easy for me to say that he is a cut in a 10-team and a 12-team league. 14-team league, it's going to be a little bit tougher. Wide receiver, we're very comfortable here at the top end. Running back, we have Gibbs that we can start right now. So yeah, to be completely honest with you, the only thing that I'd be looking to do with this kind of team is balance out running back, wide receiver just a bit by potentially going out there and like cutting Mecole Hardman and go pick up a running back off waivers. Danny says Lawrence and Aaron Jones for Lamar and Zeke. Give me Lamar over Jones, Lawrence versus Zeke. Give me Lawrence. Fair deal, up to you. Rob says, hey Mason, another team, 14-team full BBR, another 5-2 team. Mahomes, Cousins, Jacobs, Sanders, Mostert, Hunt, Jaleel, Hopkins, Thielen, Godwin, Berrios, Tony, Ertz, Goddard. Any trade ideas? So another 14-team league where I want to say cut Berrios, cut Tony, and go pick up more running backs off waivers. But like I said, very tough to do so in that 14-team format. And here we're not as strong at wide receiver at the very top end, but we do have the elite level QB. Now, I understand in a 14-team league, we are going to have to roster 2 quarterbacks on a week-to-week perspective because if Mahomes were to go down, it's not as simple as saying, oh, okay, we'll just stream a QB off waivers. Can't really do that. But what we can do is we can sell Kirk Cousins in a package, preferably with Zach Ertz, and go get to a tight end like Kittle, go get to a tight end even if it's just like Dallas Goedert, and then pick up another quarterback in return, even if it's someone that's been extremely disappointing, like, I don't know, maybe Jordan Love, right? I think that'd be something that we could look to do. Now, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 like away from hitting 1,000 likes on this live stream. If you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this stream. Help us get to 1,000. Joey says 12-team BBR double flex. We have Watson, Kamara, Eckler, Smith, Ridley, Lamb, London, Ayuk, Musgrave. And then on the bench, Warren, Madison, Kyron. We need a quarterback. Any moves? I think we're probably just going to have to hit waivers for QB. It's going to be nice. It's a 12-team league. We have more options on the waiver wire, and we have no players on bye. We're also going to need a tight end. I don't necessarily see too many trades here unless you could find something for Kyron that you like. I think we're going to be going out there picking up a quarterback and tight end off waivers this week. Pistol Pete says got off for Tony for Henry. Henry is a better schedule. Henry also may be true. I'm going to go Tony Pollard over Derrick Henry easily, to be honest. Melgim says 5-2 in second place. Do we trade Thielen and Addison for Jefferson? I personally would say, hell yes, let's do it. Riley says 10 team PPR 3 and 4. We have Hurts, Jones, Hall, Kyron, Higgins, Cup, Jefferson, Adams, Jameson, Rice, Hockenson. Any moves? Was offered Hurts for Purdy, Ayuk, Jacobs. 10-team league, if it's going to be a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league where the running back wide receiver depth will be much easier to come by, I am going to go Jalen Hurts there. If it is the league where maybe you start like 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes, then it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult for us to say to make that move. And yeah, very strong team. Obviously, we are waiting a little bit here for Jefferson in the long term. So maybe we're not as excited about making that play right now. Vincent says start 3, Ridley, Ayuk, Downs, Smith, Michael Thomas, Dell. We're going to go Ayuk for damn sure, Smith for sure. Then between Ridley, Downs, Michael Thomas, it will be a little bit tougher. I hate to say it. I've drafted a lot more Downs than Ridley this year. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I still probably go Ridley over Downs, though. I still do. Zach says trade Pollard and Achane for Eckler and Pacheco. Pollard to Eckler upgrade, Achane to Pacheco. Depends on your team. Depends if you need points now or later. Jesus says 10-team PPR. We have Swift, Walker, JT, Chase, Ridley, Amari, James Cook, Addison, Sutton. Trade Cook and Addison for Devontae Adams. Or what would you recommend? I mean, here we have plenty of running back depth with this team. I would say that it's probably not a move where you're getting enough value. I would probably try to see if we could sell another running back at a much higher price point. The thing with James Cook is nobody's excited about him. Everybody's off of him. So you're just not going to get anything if we try to sell him. But with that being said, this is a running back that now is actually expanding his role when you have no Damian Harris. Now, Logbard says, should I sell Smith for Higgins? Probably not. I would probably still rather have Smith. Baseball says, what does my priority need to be if we have Eckler, Achane, or Madre, but my receivers are Metcalf, Hollywood, Nico? I think a lot of it comes down to your record, I would say, and your league settings. If this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I think we're built the way that we'd want to be. But obviously, we could upgrade wide receiver. Bailey says 4 and 3 was offered Mahomes and Swift for Burrow, Pollard. My other running backs are Jones, Kyron, Brian Robinson. Pollard to Mahomes, give me Pollard. Burrow to Swift, give me Swift. We can kind of flip it back and forth. It's a very fair deal, and it's going to be up to you and your personal preference of these guys. I mean, obviously, Mahomes and Swift have been much better this season. But I do think that Burrow will be better coming out of the bye than he has been when he is closer to being 100%. Now, Daniel says 6 and 1, 10-team at BBR, single flex. We have Mahomes, CMC, Gibbs, Lamb, Moore, Goddard, Amari, Sutton, Algier, Gus, Higgins, Sanders, Osborne, and Royce. Any advice? So that 10-team league, 1 flex, really incentivize go out there and get the elite level quarterback, which we have with Mahomes. We also have CMC, the best asset in fantasy. We're not really prioritizing wide receiver depth in this format, and you can see that with this roster as well. Love the construction that we have of this team. Well, honestly, this team's kind of perfect. If you could sell Edwards and Dallas Goedert and go get to like a top 3 tight end, let's do it. But in reality, you're probably chilling. James says 12-team PPR, single flex, 4 and 3. We have Hurts, Madre, Algier, Watson, Tony, Musgrave, JSN, Sanders, Charbonnet, Goff, Spears, Chuba, Jefferson. Been offered Michael Thomas and Jacobs for Jalen Hurts. Tied for 3rd in the league. We need some help. Obviously, we need a running back badly. I mean, our backup quarterback is Jared Goff. So, I mean, we have someone that's viable to start. I would rather have Jalen Hurts rest of season, but it's understandable if you wanted to make a trade like this. I would just go out there and try to find a running back that you're more excited about than Josh Jacobs. Completely understandable, though, that you wanted to make that, if you wanted to make that move. Okay. Now we're going to have to swing this back around to the other page. So just give me 1 second. I think our next question will be coming out from James here. No, we just answered James. Massive Matt says, thinking of trading Olave with Wilson. Wilson and Gibbs. What do you think? The thing is, my man, like now is the legitimate worst time to be doing this. Olave just gets arrested. It's for speeding. From what I know at the NFL, and of course I'm just an idiot. I have no idea what's going to happen. But from what I know at the NFL is probably nothing's going to happen to him, right? At least I would not really expect anything drastic to happen. So I think that if you wanted to sell Olave, which I don't necessarily think you need to, I think honestly you're not going to get much for him regardless. You at least need to wait, let this blow over, let your league mates see him on the football field. And then at that point, you could possibly go out there and make a move. Now, Duro Moody says, currently 6-1, need an RB2. Would you trade Ridley and Javonte for Kyron? Not right now. Not right now. The thing with Kyron is, I don't believe that he is some like elite level talent for sure as an RB1 when he comes back. Lincoln coming out says, 12-team PBR, 0-3 to 4-3. Mahomes, Hill, Flowers, Bijan, Brees, Goddard, Godwin, Hunt, Deontay, Kyler, Wandale. Most points in the league, any moves. Great team, my friend. The only thing that I'd say is obviously if we are sitting here with Mahomes, we have really no need for Kyler where we know another team would really get some value out of Kyler Murray. So if you wanted to sell, say like Kyler and Flowers to just go get an upgrade at wide receiver, that's for sure something that we could look to do. Now, Young Lock says 12-team PBR 3-4. Starters are Lamar, Eckler, Mixon, Pittman, Diggs, Mark, Smith. And then on the bench, we have Hollywood, Godwin, Foreman, Charbonnet, Anderson, Hill, Jaleel, Achane. Any moves? So strong starting lineup, right? We have plenty of depth as well. I would say you're not going to be starting Deonta Foreman, even if you have no Roshan and even if you have no Khalil Herbert. Probably want to go ahead and look to see if we can sell him just because there's someone else in your league that will find value out of him. So yeah, I personally would go through and see what kind of value that we could get by moving on from Foreman, my friend. Now, Common Sense says, would you trade Mahomes, Kelsey, Mixon for Burrow, Andrews, Etienne, and Lamb? Top 4, but we don't like the Kansas City Chiefs playoffs schedule. Is that the only thing? Okay, so Mahomes, Kelsey, Burrow, Etienne. It's Mahomes, Kelsey by a mile. Like Mahomes over Burrow, Kelsey over Andrews. Mixon versus Etienne. Give me Etienne. CeeDee Lamb as well. I think it's a fine deal. This makes a lot more sense than how we initially read it, my friend. I'm sorry for that. I'm an idiot. I would say I probably still lean with the Mahomes and Kelsey side. It is damn close. And I could use the tiebreaker if you really needed some depth, and CeeDee Lamb would make a big difference for you to go ahead and go in that direction. But I think that we probably want the Mahomes side. Now, Logbart says 5-2. We have Herbert, Pierce, Madison, Smith, Keenan, Andrews, Wilson, Kincaid. Stafford, Chuba, Foreman. What moves do we look to make? What running back for Allen? If I was selling Keenan, I would need Bijan, I'd need CMC, or I'd need Austin Eckler. I don't necessarily think you want to be selling Keenan, though, to be honest with you. And then, yeah, obviously we do need a running back, though. So, not going to fault you if you do decide to go out there and sell like Keenan for Bijan. Esteban says, should we accept DK and Waller for Michael Pittman? Yeah, I mean, I have way more Michael Pittman than DK Metcalf, but I think Metcalf and Waller have more value than Pittman. Brandon says 10-team full BBR 3-4. Tua, Kyler, Taylor, Brees, Achane, Ford, Gibbs, Mixon, Jep Wilson, Kupp, Amon-Ra, Addison, Rice, Nico, Laporta. Any moves or no? I mean, when we have this kind of wide receiver depth, I'm always looking to see if we can sell a receiver. So if you could sell Rashee Rice and Devon Achane and go get a running back upgrade, or Nico Collins and Jerome Ford and go get a running back upgrade, I'm going to look to do so, or maybe vice versa. Just we have so much freaking depth with this team. You need to make a 2-for-1 deal somewhere. Now, Jonathan says 8-team PBR. We have Hurts, Etienne, Bijan, Amon-Ra, Kupp, Kittle, Lamb, H.N. Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Nico. 1-6, no words. Great recent trades, but still most points for and least, most points against and least points for. It sucks, my friend, but you have no other option but to go out there and sell the long-term upside of Justin Jefferson for points right now. So you need to move on from Jefferson. Go get someone in here that's actually going to make a difference for this team where you're essentially entering in the playoffs now, and it is kind of win or go home. Now, K-Fish says 12-team Happy BR 5-2. What moves should we make? We have Herbert, Tyreek, Wilson, Nico, Deontay, Rice, Kyron, H.N. Gibbs, Madison, Hunt, Algier, Dalvin, tight ends, Kincaid, running backs are all hurt. So we're 5-2, so we do get some of that flexibility, right? We can start Gibbs, I guess, and we can start Gibbs and Hunt. So for that reason, honestly, I'm not really going to be looking to make any moves. I think we just need to be patient, waiting for Kyron and H.N. to come back in. I think I would say let's go ahead and let's panic if it wasn't for the Jerome Ford injury, where it looks like Kareem Hunt is a viable start for us right now. So even though we have these other two guys injured, we kind of get lucky with some other injuries, and that Gibbs looks like he's viable because of the Montgomery injury. And then you have Hunt viable because of the Ford one. Now, Yagi says 2-5, 12-team Happy BR double flex league. Stroud, Barkley, Robinson, Pierce, Henderson, Freeman, Spears, Roschon, Wilson, Terry, Zay, Pickens, Downs, Laporta. Any suggestions? I'm sorry, this is not a good team. I think you're already doing the best you can. I think you're already going out there and making plays off waivers. I mean, it's just very difficult to come out here and say that we are going to be getting a considerable amount of value from like Brian Robinson at this point, Damian Pierce at this point. Like, these guys are cratering, you know. We have some of the rookie wide receivers that hopefully will continue to get better as the season progresses, and maybe they can dig us out of this hole, but it is tough. Tyler says Mason needs some help. 12-team, 5-1. We have Lawrence, Bijan, Chase, Brees, Kyron, Deontay, Hollywood, Tank, Andrews, Warren, Roschon. We have the number one waiver wire claim as well. Do we target someone in a trade, and what to do with the waiver wire claim too? We either pick up Foreman, JSN, or Dalton Kincaid, or we save it. I would love to go pick up Kincaid, even though we have Andrews, and then honestly use him as trade bait later on in the year. We have Chase through his bye. We have Brees through his bye. We have Bijan going to be better going forward. I think once Kyron Williams comes back, then at that point, this team will have enough depth where we could go through and we can sell one of these depth pieces, whether that's Hollywood or Deontay Johnson and Trevor Lawrence, to go get that upgrade at quarterback. For the time being, we're probably not looking to make that move, but in the long term, it would be something. Okay. Now let me switch this back over. K Column says 4-3, 10 TBBR, 1 flex. Cousins, Fields, Eckler, Bijan, Montgomery, JT, Hall, Olave, Amon-Ra, Lockett, Watson, Laporta. Any thoughts on how to improve the team? Thank you. Thank you, my friend. I would say once, oh my gosh. I would say if we wanted to try to make an improvement right now, we could go out there, we could try to sell like David Montgomery in a full BBR format where we have Eckler, JT, Hall. We don't really need them. If you wanted to go send him with like Tyler Lockett to go get an elite level receiver, that could be a play that we'd be looking to make. And then obviously it'd be fine throwing in one of the quarterbacks to get it done. One of the hurt quarterbacks, that is. OZ Justin coming out saying 12-team Happy BR 6-1 double flex. Traded Pittman and Sutton for Montgomery. We have Mahomes, Etienne, Walker, Hill, Godwin, Addison. Was this a good move? Happy BR format? Yes, I do think so. Happy BR format, more excited about Monty. What are you doing? Says 10-team double flex. Trade Watson and Ridley for Ayuk. Yes, I think you can go ahead and do this at this point, my friend. Alec, always happy to see it. Says 4-3 was 4-1, 10-team BBR. Purdy, Diggs, Ayuk, Jacobs, Pollard, Andrews, DJ, DK, Warren, Montgomery, Lawrence, Watson. What moves do we make? Feeling down with the current losing streak. My man, we had Montgomery get injured. Clear explanation. I think honestly what we're going to be looking to do is just start Trevor Lawrence over Brock Purdy going forward. And then outside of that, really hope that Christian Watson is healthy. If you wanted to package together like DJ Moore and DK Metcalf and go get an upgraded wide receiver for that flex spot, that would also be something you could look to do. Now, Mike says 5-2, 12-team BBR, where we have Fields, Kyler, Herbert, Kamara, Eckler, CMC, Henderson. AJ, how the hell do you have this team? This is a phenomenal squad. The only thing that I would say is at this point, if you could sell, like, say, Fields and Darren Waller and go get an elite level tight ends, I think that'd make a lot of sense on a team like this, assuming it's a one quarterback league. Manny says 4-3, Kirk or Lawrence for Hockenson or Laporta. I would love to sell either quarterback for TJ Hockenson. I think Hockenson gives you a significant edge. Evan says 3-4, 10-team BBR league. Lawrence or Goff, Kamara, Anderson, Chase, Puka, Laporta, Deontay with Ridley on the bench and Achane on the IR. Very well balanced team. I mean, obviously running back's going to be a massive concern for us in the short term. For that reason, if you really wanted to sell, say, Devon Achane and Darrell Henderson and go get someone that you can be excited about at running back right now, that can be something you look to do. It's obviously just much easier said than done, though. Now, James says 3-4, 12-team. Third points for, first points against. Lawrence, Kyler, Amon-Ra, Ridley, Amari, Deontay, Elijah, Johnston, Etienne, Hall, Montgomery, Ford, Spears, Waller. Feel like we need a receiver. I think you're going to be fine at wide receiver, to be honest with you. I know Ridley's been very disappointing, but we have the elite wide receiver one with Amon-Ra. I think that we can find a wide receiver 2 rest of season. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think they all have wide receiver 2 upside between Ridley, Amari, and Deontay Johnson. So it's been frustrating. I think that we're probably going to start Deontay this next week if Deshaun Watson misses. But hopefully Watson is back somewhat soon, and hopefully Amari starts producing again. Now, Doug Van Dane says 4-3, 12-team BBR, last in waivers that most users are active. Do you think it's possible to have a chance that someone will pick up Akers before I do? I would say most likely someone will pick up Akers before you do. It's not going to be definitely submit the claim and see what happens. Won't be the end of the world if someone does pick him up. I do think that ultimately, like, both running backs in Minnesota are in that range where you're not excited about either one, and you're really just you're rostering them for the long-term upside if the other guy were to go down in that offense. Seth says 6-1 PBR. We have Lamar, Pittman, Wilson, Pollard, Hubbard, Kittle, Flowers, JSN, Deontay, James Cook, Elijah, Achane. What can we move for Jefferson? That team's 2-5. I'd say you have to start it off with like either Pittman or Garrett Wilson, but you're going to have to add a little bit more to it. If you wanted to go like Pittman or Garrett Wilson and then add Devon Achane, like kind of convince them, hey, you're still getting the long-term upside, but someone to start right now. We could go for that. AG says, Kincaid worth my number one waiver wire claim, been playing Taysom? Hell yes, Kincaid is worth your number one waiver wire claim in that instance. Now, Tyson coming out saying 12-team at BBR, 2 wide receiver, single flex, 1 super flex. Starters are, I still can't pronounce his name. The rookie in Chicago, we don't have a starter. Okay. Ford, Hill, London, Andrews, Hubbard, Reynolds, and the bench is Warren, Thomas, Chark, Elijah. Lost Mike Williams, Anthony Richardson, Watson injured. Can we save it? Desperate times call for desperate measures. This is a super flex league where you also have 2 flex spots, where we have been decimated at quarterback, where we have no running back depth, we have no wide receiver depth. So y'all know, typically you hear me say, oh, let's trade for the elite tight end. Let's go get an elite tight end. Let's go get an elite tight ends. However, I think here instead we are going to be in a much better spot to actually sell Mark Andrews, bolster our depth at the other positions. Just because having the elite tight end is more of a luxury than anything, right? But K Column says, hey Mason, another team, 12-team non-PBR format, 5-2, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, where we have Hurts, Walker, JT, Moss, Deontay, Tyreek, Chase, Terry, Pittman, Kmet, Kincaid, any trade or waiver wire ideas. So non-PBR format, we are highly incentivized to build around the elite level QB and running backs. We have Hurts, we have Walker, we have JT, beautiful. No idea how the hell we have Tyreek and Chase. This is an absurd team top to bottom. If we ever got an opportunity to sell Terry and one of the tight ends for an elite tight end because we have the embarrassment of riches here, for sure that's going to be something we look to do. Jackson says 18 BBR, Tua, Bijan, Saquon, Cup, Chase, Amon-Ra. 4-3, need some help. 8-team league, honestly, strong team. It's just understandable why we're 4-3, right? You had the Saquon injury and you had the Cup injury at the beginning of the season. I think the team will be much better going forward. I don't think you have to worry too much. Matthew says trade Calvin Ridley for Godwin. I have Godwin ranked higher in my rest of season rankings. Derek says trade receiving Adams and Godwin, giving Ridley and Puka. Give me Adams over Puka. Most people would disagree. And then give me Godwin over Ridley. So I would do it, but most people would want Puka. Massive says I meant trading for Olave, giving Gibbs, Garrett Wilson. I would sell Wilson maybe straight up for Olave, not adding Gibbs to it. I'm sorry for misunderstanding, my friend. Zach says 12-team full BBR single flex. Stafford, Gibbs, Montgomery, Swift, Cook, Cup, Wilson, Olave, Ingram, Jameson, Logan Thomas. Any advice on moves? Not necessarily. Very well-balanced team. I'd say, it depends on the record. If you're sitting here and you're like 2-5, then we probably sell David Montgomery. Whereas, honestly, I think you can just sit on your hands. I think you have a very well-balanced team here, top to bottom, and I think you're strong. Jesus says trade Addison and James Cook for Keenan. If it is a 2 wide receiver, single flex, like 10-team league, I'd be okay with it. But, obviously, Addison and James Cook are looking pretty good right now. Levi says trade Ayuk, Waddle, Stevenson for Diggs or AJ. If it is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, then yes, I'm fine going out there and overpaying for the stud. But it really does depend on those league settings. MCM says we have Allen, Bijan, Brees, Swift, Andrews, Debo, Higgins, London, Sutton, Downs, Rice, Warren, Algier. Any moves or waiver wire adds? So if we were looking to cut anybody from this team, you're probably, cutting Cortland Sutton, which you're not excited about. So honestly, because you were in that spot where you really have nobody to cut, I would like making 2-for-1 deals. That way we can open up some of the roster spots on the bottom end of the team and have more flexibility with waiver wires going forward. So if we can make a 2-for-1 deal almost anywhere, like just package together London and Downs, London and Rice, Rice and Downs, and go get a slight upgrade, I think that would make a lot of sense. Not like Aaron says, Amon-Ra Palmer for Adams and Higgins. I think it is a fair deal. I think the vast majority of the people in your league, in this live stream would take the Amon-Ra St. Brown side. I think it's very fair. Tyler says 10-team BBR, Burrow, CMC, Jones, Olave, Smith, Kelsey, Kirk, Amari. Any moves I need to make? Thanks. Thank you, my friend. We have the elite tight end. We have Burrow going to be much better going forward. Obviously, Aaron Jones, questionable at RB2. So ultimately, I think it's going to come down to what we have with Aaron Jones for this team. You're not going to be able to sell Aaron Jones, sadly, so I don't necessarily know what we would be looking to do here. Just make sure we're not rostering that backup tight end. And honestly, I think if you have Burrow, you don't even need to roster backup quarterback at this point. Maybe I'm being a little bit too optimistic, but I think coming out of the bye week, we assume that he's pretty close to 100%. Now, Alex says, what wide receiver tier would you target for like DK, DJ, and Cup? Or DK and DJ more together? Would we go for Cup? If you could get Cup, I think it would be an absolute no-brainer, my friend. Obviously, much, much easier said than done. In reality, I think you're going to be looking at like the Devontae Adams, CD Lamb range. I'd love to get Cup if we can. Funky Money says, would you rather trade Cup, Diggs, or Brown for Tyreek? I'll trade any of these guys for Tyreek Hill. Out of these three, I think that maybe Cooper Kupp's the lowest for me. Tony says, starting Dynasty next year, ideal roster and scoring settings. I would say you want at least 25 roster spots. You want it to be a super flex league as well with some type of implementation of a tight end premium, my friend. Now, Doug Fan Dan says 12-team single flex PPR. Lawrence, Hill, Amon-Ra, Cook, Pollard, Goddard, Pierce, Jameson, Pitts, Geno, Roshan, Kyler. Should we trade Amon-Ra and Jameson for Chase? Hell yes. Go out there and get Chase, my man. I mean, Jameson, we were asking earlier in the stream if you should just cut. Now, Kane coming out saying 2 and 5, PPR. Lawrence, Ramondre, Jacobs, Chase, Lamb, Addison, Andrews, Smith, Palmer, Montgomery, Rice, Warren, Spears, Achane. Need a running back, who to target. I think that you're going to have to go through, and honestly, I think you're going to have to sell Devon Achane. Obviously, Achane is pretty damn exciting if you're going to be looking at the long-term upside, but long-term upside doesn't matter for you here. And instead, what matters is just going out there and getting some points in this lineup right now. So I think we're going to look to go ahead and we're going to look to see if we can package together maybe like Devon Achane and Ramondre Stevenson and go get to like the Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne range. Now, Frosty Ice coming out saying 1 and 6, 10-team PBR double flex. We have Mahomes, Eckler, Hall, Sanders, Lamb, Amari, Pittman, Kincaid, and Achane. What are we doing? Very similar to what we were talking about with the team right before this, my friend. If you're 1 and 6, if you're 2 and 5, we really can't sit here and afford to wait for the long-term upside with these guys in the bottom end. Instead, we need to prioritize us going out there and getting some points in this lineup right now. So I think we need to go ahead. I think that we need to be taking Devon Achane and just going and getting some points in for right this second. Tyler says, panic on Smith. I am not. He's still getting target volume in a very good offense. I still think he's probably a good receiver. And Scheme says, 8-team league, 4 and 3. We have Burrow, Bijan, Walker, Adams, Olave, Andrews, Nico, DK, Hunt. Traded Pacheco and Adam Thielen for Jefferson in Ford 2 weeks ago. What are your thoughts? I mean, in an 8-team league, it's just an absolute no-brainer, right? And an 8-team league, if we can just go through and say, okay, depth's going to be easy to come by. Let's just prioritize getting the elite level studs, the guys with the true league-winning ceilings, such as Justin Jefferson. That does make a lot of sense. Now, Avian says, Kirk, Ridley, Zay, or Lamar Ayuk, which side? Give me Ayuk over Zay and give me Lamar over Kirk and Ridley. We're going to go with Lamar. But I think that should be it for this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for everybody hanging out with us. And if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this stream, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you are going to get a 100% deposit match, our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And now is by far and away the best time to get on Underdog because, of course, they have the new special that they always have for someone new on Underdog. Josh Allen, more than less than half a total yard. But this week, you also get a LeBron James special pick'em on top of that. More than less than half a total point for NBA tip-off. And since so many people used promo code FLOCK on Underdog last week, they're also hooking you up with an Amon-Ra St. Brown special pick'em more than less than half a total yard as well. So please make sure you take advantage of that. You're going to find those links in the live chat description comment section. Promo code FLOCK, of course. And then real quick, Alicia says, sitting at 2 and 5, DK, Amari, Smith, Pittman, Watson, Palmer. Looking for a 2-for-1 deal. Who should we target? We have Bijan and JT. I'd be looking to sell, say, DK Metcalf and probably like Joshua Palmer. Not really going to be getting much for Smith or Watson at this point or Amari. And yeah, I do agree with you. I think it does make a lot of sense to go out there and try to sell like DK and Palmer and get that wide receiver upgrade. Lewis says, 8-team league. Do we send Goff, Kupp, Amon-Ra, Jefferson for Olave, Evans, Joey Burrow, and Chase? Jefferson to Chase. Give me Chase. Goff to Burrow. Give me Burrow. Kupp to Olave, give me Kupp. Amon-Ra. We're going to go with Kupp, Amon-Ra, and Jefferson because it's a 4 and 3 team where we are looking for the highest ceiling possible. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Really do appreciate y'all. Really hope you have a great night and really hope I get to see you in the live stream tomorrow night.